start the meeting anyway. So I'd like to call the meeting to order. First thing tonight is the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Moving on to roll call.
Mrs. Chesky? Here. Mrs. Blomgren? Here. Mrs. Jagan? Here. Mr. Cormack?
Here.
Mr. Kaufman?
Here.
Mr. Merkel-Gum?
Here.
Mrs. Rash?
Here.
Mrs. Sharino?
Here.
And Mr. Wurs?
Here. All right, thank you for coming tonight. Just a few things I want to talk about tonight, and we'll get right to the meeting. So I'd like to start tonight by congratulating the staff and the students for achieving the Great Pennsylvania Schools recognition this past week. Not sure if you saw that. It was a big announcement by the school. This award recognizes schools that provide students with access to rigorous programming, are community-centric, demonstrate financial well-being, and display resilience. It's a great honor and something I think reflects the true nature of our school and the dedication and hard work of our staff. I'd also like to thank the administration and Dave Thomas for putting all the applications together and getting us selected. We should be very thankful for that. So when I joined the school board, I made a promise to myself that I would advocate for all students of Pennridge. Over the past few years, our school board has not done well in this area. Unfortunately, many decisions in the past were not focused on all of our students. As a board, I hope we can change that going forward. I want to reiterate my support for all students at Pennridge, including the LGBTQ community and all minorities. Our board must be focused on helping support every single child in our district to achieve their maximum potential. We need a united student body and not more division. I want to talk a little tonight about improving the school. That's certainly something that's most important to us, and some of the steps we are taking so far. Many of these are not visible to the public, so I thought it's a good time to update people on these. So Peter Drucker is often quoted as saying, "You can't manage what you can't measure." Having relevant metrics is key to making sound decisions. I'll discuss metrics at other meetings too. I just want to start with going over one idea that we've been working on just to keep the public informed. So one publicly known metric is our school rankings. Ours is quite low right now, and we all feel that our school is much better than what is reflected in our rankings. I've asked the superintendent to get a better understanding of what components make up the rankings and develop strategies to improve. These components are part of driving improvement in the school. Now you might not think that our state ranking is important, but a higher ranking attracts new residents, which will have a positive effect on property values. So we selected the U.S. News and World Report's rankings, a very well-known organization that does not include public feedback in their rankings. One of the first things we learned was that AP courses and AP performance make up almost half of the weighted average of the rankings for U.S. News and World Report. We are investigating how we perform in this area and will be making changes, including additional courses as necessary. It is worthy to note that we recently added the AP Human Geography to the program of studies. Presently, there are 5 sections filled to capacity for the upcoming school year. Certainly a great step in the right direction. This will have an impact on our rankings. So this is an example we are taking to improve our standing in the rankings, which will also enhance college readiness and career readiness. We will be presenting more information at the upcoming meeting. I know there's been a lot of chatter on social media about our current bathroom policy. Most of this is incorrect and only serves to cause divisiveness and anger in the community. To be clear, we have not changed anything on the current bathroom policy. It is the same as it was last year. We're working on a revised policy that will be shared with the public before the next policy meeting. It will be a policy that I believe will make all students feel comfortable and safe in the bathrooms. Let me also add that our high school principal, Tim Ketty, has done a very good job so far of enforcing the current policies with regards to vaping and loitering in the bathrooms. And one final note, I also told that there are no bathrooms locked during the day, except for a few at the beginning of the day to stop loitering, which had been a big problem in the past. So that's all I have for tonight. Thank you for your interest in Pennridge, and I hope you find these updates helpful. Moving right along to the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Mr. Wurst. Good evening. I'm pleased to welcome you all to tonight's school board meeting. As we meet tonight, I'd like to recognize Passover, a significant celebration for many in our community. Passover marks the Israelites' liberation from Egyptian slavery, reflecting on resilience and joy through the Seder meal, comprising readings, songs, and symbolic foods. It's a time that not only honors the strength of the Jewish community, but also inspires us with the human spirit's capacity to prevail over hardship. In our district, we cherish and learn from rich cultural traditions of all of our students and staff. As Mr. Wurz recently shared, I'm delighted that Pennridge was recently designated a Great Pennsylvania School. This is just an outstanding accolade and a true reflection of our students and staff and all the hard work that they do every single day in our school district. As you may be aware, tomorrow is School Bus Driver Appreciation Day. And we decided to kick it off a little early. We invited some drivers tonight if you would like to come forward, and I see Mr. Krause. But tomorrow we will commemorate all of our transportation department. Our school bus drivers are the first faces, other than their parents and guardians, that our students see in the morning, and it can set the tone for the day. They build relationships that last a lifetime, and we are so grateful to have them as part of our team. Like last year, our schools are asked to create special surprises to celebrate their favorite drivers tomorrow morning. So this is just a handful of our members. Ms. Krause, Ms. Rabel, Ms. Maria Huff, and I'm going to stop right there. But just a wonderful cadre of individuals. Semper Fi, Marine. How are you? Yes, move to the front. Thank you very much. Our next team is filled with around 200 of our excellent Reading Olympic students. Last month, some of the best readers in our elementary schools competed in the annual Reading Olympics, and we wanted to dedicate a portion of our meeting to recognizing their incredible efforts, as well as their teachers and librarians. We created a photo collage of this year's teams that you can see on the screen. Our schools sent us the images. The Reading Olympics challenges students to read books on a very long list and retain as much information as possible in memory. Then, along with several regional schools, they go head-to-head in reading comprehension challenges. Congratulations on another excellent year for our students. Another team is joining us tonight to help provide vital support for all of the plays and musicals at our secondary schools. We asked our principals, teachers, and directors to identify the volunteers from our community who help make the productions happen. Whether it's building and moving the sets, applying the makeup, working with dozens of actors for several hours of hairstyling, or any other number of behind-the-scenes essential jobs, it has become clear that the level of dramatic excellence that you see on our stages wouldn't be possible without these people. Tonight, we will call you up by school and ask that you pose for a group photo while you're honored. So we're going to combine some schools here. So the crews from North, Central, and South Middle Schools, if you can come forward for recognition, that'd be great. From Pennridge High School, please come forward.
Yeah, the whole team.
Just a few of us. All right, let's pretend we're on a small stage. There you go. There we go. Perfect. Love it.
Thank you, and I would be remiss if I didn't mention the musical Hello Dolly. It was just a fantastic production. I had the opportunity to watch the musical with the high school principal, and we were just marveling the entire show about how professional I felt like I was watching a Broadway production. So hats off to our students, our musicians, and stage crew, so on and so forth. It was just a magnificent night. Recently, the Union League honored 2 of our 11th grade students for excellence in our regional communities. We proudly welcome Alana Crozier and Cormac Gartner and their families to the meeting tonight. If you're here, please come forward. Alana Crozier has been recognized by the Inter-County Scholastic Hockey League for good citizenship. Alana started playing ice hockey in middle school as a member of an all-girls travel league. She then joined the Pennridge Girls High School ice hockey team and was able to play as a 7th grader. She was named as a co-captain in her junior year. She volunteers her time as a student coach for the Philadelphia Blind Hockey Organization, where the kids know her as Coach Lottie. In addition to her achievements on the ice, she holds a part-time job at Owalcow and is the secretary of Mini-Thon. She also sits on the race committee board for the Travis Manion Doylestown Heroes Run that supports families of veterans and first responders. She has recently been selected for a volunteer position at the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia in King of Prussia this summer. She maintains high academic grades and enjoys giving back to her community. Moving on to Cormac, the Washington Crossing Council of the Boy Scouts of America has recognized Cormac Gartner. In his application, Cormac wrote, quote, "One of the goals of the Union League is to promote educated, engaged, and responsible citizens. I believe that the work and volunteerism I have done and continue to do as a scout." He added, "Helping others is a priority of mine and something that brings me joy. Through service, I learn more about my community and myself while assisting others in becoming their best selves." So please welcome both Cormac and Alana and congratulate them. We did it again. For the 9th year in a row, the Pennridge School District has been designated nationally as a Best Community for Music Education 2024. This award is given to school districts that have demonstrated outstanding efforts by teachers, administrators, parents, students, and community leaders who make music education part of a well-rounded education. Pennridge is one of less than 1,000 school districts to receive this distinguished honor nationally. In the words of our K-12 music coordinator, Karen Werner, quote, "Don't forget the spring concert season is just around the corner, and you can witness our students when they have their moments to shine through singing and playing their instruments. And that is due to the collective efforts of our Pennridge music teachers, administration, and community. This BCME designation is an award for all." Okay. Thank you for reminding me of that. Cue, Mr. Thomas. As a school district, we celebrated the recent solar eclipse in many ways. Mr. Thomas will be sharing more information about the social media and newspaper coverage shortly. However, I wanted to take a moment and show something else that happened. Mr. Tyler Murphy, our high school science coordinator, wanted to read a special book about this special moment. Mr. Murphy read a few beautiful minutes, and this video was shared with all of our schools so that fellow teachers could use it in their classrooms. We wanted to take a moment to thank Mr. Murphy for all he does in and out of the classroom, and here's a quick look. We won't have the entire book read to you, but it's very touching. Is Mr. Murphy here this evening?
Yes, sir.
Yes, he
A few beautiful minutes experiencing a solar eclipse. Written by Kate Allen Fox, illustrated by Koa Lee. A few beautiful minutes. Under a broad blue sky, from coast to coast, we gather for a rare illusion. A total solar eclipse when the sun vanishes into thin air for a few beautiful minutes. And in the endless expanse of space, the universe prepares for a show, one the sun and moon have given us since the dawn of time. They find their places as the performance begins. The sun, forever the star, beams vast and vibrant, her stage unchanged. But the moon has already begun, gliding, sliding, slipping into the spotlight to steal the sun's glory for a few beautiful minutes.
So, full disclosure, I asked Mr. Murphy if that was an authentic fireplace or was that some kind of AI generated, but that's in his home, in his study. And but on a more serious note, Mr. Murphy, thank you for doing that for our school community. I greatly appreciate it, as do the rest of the school board. For another year, we are happy to celebrate a group of educators who have utilized the opportunities to secure grants for new and immersive ideas in their schools and classrooms. Our Educational Foundation provides these grants each year, and this year, Assistant Superintendent of K-12 Teaching, Learning, and Assessment, Dr. Kathy Brewster, will announce our winners, as well as the grant ideas they came up with.
Thank you, Mr. Barrios. Good evening, everyone. Tonight, we're happy to announce the names of 12 educators who received a Pennridge Community Education Foundation, PCEF, grant totaling over $5,000. We are grateful to the former members of PCEF who asked the district to ensure that all remaining monies from their foundation be used for students in the classroom. The following are the recipients of the awards. Bethany Willits, Grass Elementary School, flexible seating. Felicia Borghi and Bob Gumbar, Pennridge High School, for a printer copier. Glenn Wonder, North Middle School, a horseshoe white table for math class. Hannah North Middle School for functional task boxes. Kellyanne Johnson, Grass Elementary School, Kindergarten Patterns in Nature Extension Activity. Kim Keller, Dr. Cordalesa, and Deanna Januzzi, Central Middle School, for a Life Skills Program expansion. Nicole Peterson, Sellersville Elementary School, Student-Centered Flexible Learning Environment. Rebecca Wida and Leanne Gatto from Guth Elementary School, Enhancing Language Development for Bilingual Students. Steve Brown, Central Middle School, PBIS Implementation. Tara Collis, North Middle School, Translation Support Services. Kim Stellino, Central Middle School, Parody Videos. And finally, Dana Pivnichny, she's an instructional coach, for Math Award funding. Congratulations to all recipients.
Thank you, Dr. Brewster. For the past few weeks, if you've noticed some of us at Central Office wearing jeans, we've been engaged in a fundraiser for RAM Packs. And in fact, there's a photograph depicted on the screen where the cabinet and I had the great fortune to go to RAM Packs and actually volunteer. It's a nice, we didn't do trust falls or anything, but it was a nice team bonding experience for us, but to also give back to our community. So really value the good work they do to help our students. Finally, Mr. Thomas, I'm going to hand it over to you to go over a few things for us. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Barrios. Thank you, members of the school board. District continues to get our great stories in local newspapers and TV stations. As you can see on the slide, our hashtag EclipsePSD garnered more than 200 pictures. We asked residents to send in their shots of how they and their family and our students and teachers and staff members enjoyed the time off in the afternoon to witness the rare moment of the solar eclipse. The North Penn Reporter did a feature story on that experience, which included about a dozen of those photos in a very nice gallery. The Reporter also covered our visit to Harrisburg with our state championship girls soccer team when they were celebrating on the House floor with our 2 state reps. 6 ABC was at West Rock Hill and showcased the efforts of our Pennridge High School Upstanders program and the way they present their anti-bullying and cyberbullying awareness messages to our elementary students throughout the spring and all of our elementary and middle schools. And on the next slide, we wanted to show you how Pennridge continues to be showcased digitally through multimedia productions and publications. So we ran the analytics report, and our official Facebook page in the last 28 days had a reach of 109,724, which means all the posts that we made were seen that many times. That's slightly down from 115,000 from last month, so we'll have to work on that. The top 3 posts, number 1 was our solar eclipse time-lapse video and pictures, 50,000 views. Number 2 was Mrs. Audrey Anderson, our state championship girls soccer coach. Her Wall of Fame induction and entrance celebration, surrounded by the Deep Run youth soccer team, got 21,672 views. And number 3 was the group picture of our best PHS wrestlers at last month's school board meeting. That picture alone got 21,648 views. In the upper right-hand corner, our official RNN YouTube channel over the last 28 days had 5,100 views, 750 hours watched, and 20 new subscribers. In addition to our school board meetings, viewers continue to enjoy our new Pennridge profiles, including spotlights on Hello Dolly at the high school, our first alumni profile of Veronica Mang, who's a children's author and illustrator who came back to Guth to draw and read to the students. Veronica graduated in 2015. And our 3 elementary STEM challenge teams who earned their way to the Bucks County Finals for their incredible STEM ideas. Their Pennridge profiles got all of those views on Facebook, on YouTube, excuse me. Finally, we continue to drive digital traffic through our website to our publications. Our last Share Your PSD Great newsletter has been viewed by over 112,276 people, nearly 4,000 just this week. As you can see on the slide, more than 110,000 of those views are traced back to our website, and as you can see on the map on the bottom, that's global. So all those red dots are where people have viewed it across the globe. Thank you very much for your time tonight, and thank you for the opportunity to tell you all about the great things at Pennridge.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Thomas. Mr. Wers, that concludes the superintendent's report.
All right, thank you. And move on to the student liaison report.
Okay, first I'd like to take the time to congratulate all of the past pit crew and all of the teachers and volunteers who helped make Hello Dolly such a huge success this year and such a fantastic show for everyone to be a part of and watch. It was truly a fantastic experience to view and be a part of. And as for the future, coming up for the next couple weeks, our Red Cross Club is having a blood drive where students and teachers can donate blood and help to support the community in that way. And we are having our annual April showers where we have a fundraiser for our life skills students, and all around it's a super fun time for everyone in our school and community. As for student council, over the next few couple weeks, we will be having our elections for the 24-25 school year for our president, vice president, treasurer, and secretary positions. And we are continuing working on finishing the school year strong with our last couple events of Mr. Pennridge and Mental Health Awareness Week. So, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for your report. Appreciate it. Moving on to public comment. Before we start, or first I'll read the policy. According to Policy 903, public comment, which is limited to 3 minutes, should be directed to the presiding officer rather than individual board members, district employees, or members of the public. For confidentiality and privacy rights, specific comments regarding particular individuals must be communicated privately to the school board and superintendent via email at psdschoolboard@pennridge.org. Before we get started, so there has been some confusion as far as what's on the agenda. And I think we're going to take a look at the whole policy over again for 9 to 3. So tonight, even though the bathrooms are not on it, I value your time and don't want to make you stay till the end. So some people signed up for the first period, and you'll be allowed to speak. If you decided we're waiting till the end and you wanted to speak about the bathrooms, you're welcome to speak in the first time. So we'll go through the list, and if it's not related to that, like I said, you're welcome to speak on the first one. But we're going to review it as a group, because my personal feeling is everybody should have the right to say what they want at any time. So if we can figure that out, we'll change the policy in the future. And it avoids getting into the arguments over whether you're on the agenda or not, which I think is a waste of time. So starting off, first is Matt Carbonaro.
No, you're good. Thank you, sir. Good evening, Matt Carbonaro, Percy Borough. My public comment pertains to the policy meeting last time in the agenda. Policy 720 was a policy that was put in place and by the previous school board with no issue at all, in my opinion. The Democrat majority on this current board ran on the platform of increased transparency, and what I've seen so far doesn't demonstrate that. Why didn't you tell the community that you would reverse the sex-based bathroom and locker room policy? Instead, you ran on a platform to represent the entire community, not just lots of far-left voters. I disagree with the proposed change to the bathroom policy. Title IX prohibits discrimination on the basis of sex, but it permits separating sexes when it comes to bathroom and other living facilities. As many predicted, this is a huge blindside attempt from the policy chair. She has many conflicts of interest. The proposal that was presented at the last policy meeting, which required all multi-user bathroom to be gender identity blindsided many of the colleagues up on stage. Doing a survey, as was mentioned last meeting, and I completely agree with that. That is something that should be instrumental and would provide great feedback for the stakeholders involved. At the last policy meeting, the policy chair continued to speak regarding the uncomfortability of trans students having to use single-user bathrooms. This makes no sense, since they were given a reasonable option to provide privacy. This stems from a legal precedent that has been used to push this policy, which has been completely debunked. In conclusion, I do hope you find to keep the current policy in place and do not cater to a small minority. And I will call again for the policy chair to step down as committee chair. As mentioned prior, 10 days after the November election, her husband's group, the Pair Up Society, filed a civil rights complaint against our district, and the demands were a list of far-left laundry list policies, including this bathroom policy. She has so many other conflicts of interest as well. Thank you for your time, and stakeholders, have a good night.
Thank you. Next up is Richard Burns. You were scheduled to speak at the end. If you would like to speak now and not wait for the end of the meeting, that's okay. Richard? I assume it wasn't a non-agenda item, but we're making exceptions on it.
Touches on something 4 minutes. Before you start the timer, I just have a handout. I'm sorry I didn't have enough. I didn't know there were so many people, but I can share. Richard Burns, Hilltown Township. Mr. Wertz, on April 12th, you sent me an email in response to public comments that I made on the April 8th policy committee meeting. Quoting your message, you said, "Dr. Burns, sorry, but I need to disagree with you. You're welcome to your opinion, but I rely on recognized experts and their field," quote unquote. The implication that I got, or the implication was that I myself did not rely on recognized experts when I make public comments. You further implied that what I had to say was opinion rather than fact. I followed up with an email to you asking for the names of your recognized experts. To date, I have not received your response. So I'd like to present a list of some of the recognized experts who I rely on when presenting facts, not opinion, in public comments. Perhaps you can expand your knowledge base by reviewing some of their work. The following professionals are highly skilled experts who conducted reliable scientific research in gender dysphoria. Their published academic works have produced hard evidence that I've attempted to pass on to the school board during public comments and upon which I heavily rely. Dr. Miriam Grossman, child and adolescent psychiatrist, author and lecturer, New York. Dr. Hilary Cass, an honored British pediatrician who released her extensive research just this month. I would highly recommend it reading for everybody. Dr. Kenneth Zucker, clinical psychologist, University of Toronto. Elizabeth Sieber, PhD candidate in psychology, University of Hamburg, Germany. Dr. Davida Singe, clinical psychologist, University of Toronto. Dr. Michael Biggs, sociologist, Oxford University in the UK. Dr. Stephen Levine, psychiatrist, Case Western Reserve, University Cleveland, Ohio. Dr. Lisa Littman, behavioral medicine, Brown University and Mount Sinai Hospital, New York. Dr. Alison Clayton, psychiatrist, University of Melbourne, Australia. And finally, Mr. Michael Schellenberger, an acclaimed author and journalist who published an expose on the now discredited WPATH organization, and that was in March. I hope you find these sources informative, and I look forward again to hearing who your experts are. Thank you.
Next up is Jean D'Angelo.
Jean D'Angelo, East Rock Hill. I'm a mother of 4 boys. 3 are currently in the district. My oldest is going into high school next fall. Then I will have 1 in middle school and elementary. I've spoken with many current high school students that inform me that the bathrooms at Pennridge are already uncomfortable. Some saying they just want to be able to use a private single bathroom so they can just get in and out to hopefully avoid the current riffraff that already occurs. If this policy changes, we are opening up an enormous can of worms. If changed, it was stated at the last policy meeting that middle school and elementary would then be considered also for the change. This is outrageous. It was also stated there's no way of really discerning who can go in what bathroom and no way to police any abuse of the policy. This will literally turn Pennridge bathrooms into a free-for-all, one of which I will not be comfortable with my 4 children being a part of. I strongly believe a community survey needs to be given. In order to please everyone, I think that our tax dollars should go to a revision of bathrooms having biological sex-based bathrooms and then add a multitude of single use for whoever feels comfortable using them. In closing, I would also like to state that Leah Foster Rash should be removed from her policy chair. There is an extensive conflict of interest, and she's clearly abusing her title to push her own agenda. Thank you.
Dawn Byrne.
Hello, Dawn Kern, Bedminster. First, I'd like to thank the administration, the board, and the awesome staff at Dibler Elementary for some of the great things that are happening in our district. Last week, Ms. Bender's third grade class hosted Parents for Wax Museum, where students took on the roles of famous figures. Librarian Ms. Phillips organized an author visit with author Jay Adams that inspired so much love of reading in kids that I saw one boy actually reading while he was walking home from the bus. And my daughter and her friends are excitedly planning a movie night to watch the film version after they finish the book. The Upstander program with Nova also took place at Diabler last week. It was another hit, not only in my house, but the neighborhood. It's wonderful how the district pairs high school kids, like my neighbor, with elementary kids, like my daughters, for activities about how to be a kind classmate and friend. I'd also like to thank the curriculum committee co-chairs, Mr. Merkel Gump and Ms. Batisky, for your work to put curriculum writing back in the hands of Pennridge staff. I look forward to Ms. Raber's ELA presentation tonight, and I'm grateful you gave me and other parents who volunteered the chance to take part in the Social Studies Textbook Selection Committee. I was very impressed with how Social Studies Coordinator Ms. Vitale structured the process. I think it's great that the admin teachers and parents are working together. I look forward to Ms. Vitale's eventual presentation to the board. I'd also like to thank Policy Chair Ms. Foster-Rash for her leadership. Her responsibilities include ensuring our district policies are legal and do not discriminate. The current bathroom policy pushed through by the last board does not meet these requirements. I thank Ms. Foster-Rash, or I thank her for addressing this flawed policy and doing so in a way to facilitate discussion amongst the board, the administration, and the community. Under the last board, controversial decisions were made in a secretive way. Jordan Adams and Vermillion were hired in Pennridge and given purview over the entire curriculum, and our own administration was only notified of this by text message less than 2 days before his contract was to be approved. Thank goodness business is no longer being done this way. The bathroom policy is being evaluated with help from the administration. A draft was posted with time for the community to review, and the draft was brought as a first read for open discussion. This collaborative, open process is how business should be done. Thank you. During the committee meeting, Ms. Foster-Rash said, and I quote, "I am just one person, and the beauty of a board with a diversity of thought is that one person has no more power than others. I applaud this leadership. Our board, like our community, seems to have differing opinions about how to address this flawed policy. Just as I suppose Ms. Chaikin speaks for some community members, so does Ms. Foster-Rash, and I thank her for doing it. I share her concerns that any policy that discriminates is harmful to students and a legal liability. As leaders, you now have the ability to call for civility and an end to personal attacks. As leaders, you also have a responsibility to be honest and factual with the community. Board member speculations and unqualified interpretations of the law should not be used to influence district policy. Pennridge has a contract with Eckerd Siemens Law Firm and retains Mr. Miller as solicitor for this purpose. Mr. Miller should be advising the board on the legal ramifications of any bathroom policy. The public should hear his information."
I'm sorry, your time's up.
Again, I'd like to thank Ms. Foster-Rash
We have
for
a lot of
conducting
people
this
tonight.
discussion in public.
Thank you. Just pronounced correctly, Jinx Smalls. Okay, thank you.
Jinx Small, Sellersville. I'm a freshman at the high school, and I am transgender. Imagine in this day and age if we singled out black people into using a specific bathroom segregated from white people. Just in 1952, the year Pennridge High School was founded, I wouldn't be able to walk into these doors as a biracial student. It's no different than singling out trans people into what bathroom they must use. I can't help being black, nor can we help being trans. If we didn't have stalls for disabled students, Pennridge could be in serious legal trouble, so why does any other minority mean lesser? We need to keep moving forward rather than moving backwards. Let trans kids use the bathroom of their gender identity. It's a simple concept. We aren't here to hurt, molest, assault, or rape their children. If anything, we are more scared of that happening to us. It's so hard to exist in a school, let alone a world, where being trans is not socially acceptable. And now, school boards across the nation have created policies that make it even harder for us to just exist in these environments. Many have questioned how this policy hurts trans students, and it hurts us emotionally, mentally, and physically. Imagine what type of situation could transpire if a trans woman who presents primarily feminine was forced to use the men's bathroom, and vice versa. Also, being forced to use the bathroom of your biologically assigned sex can cause an uprise of gender dysphoria, which is a mental disorder that also increases mass suicide rates in trans youth. Queer youth will always exist, and our lives and opinions matter just as much as other students. Being queer, trans, or black does not make me any lesser of a person. As I was sitting, I heard the insult freak thrown around, and being your most authentic self does not make anyone a freak. When I go off to a big university or school in my future, along with more than 90% of students that graduate here, as it says on your website, we will all be exposed to mass diversity in big cities and similar areas. By sheltering these kids with minorities and other students you consider not the norm, and raising your kids to only believe that white, straight people exist, you aren't helping them move forward and are only hindering their growth as a decent human being. You are setting these kids up for failure because they're conditioned to be so small-minded. You are setting these kids up for failure because once they're conditioned to be so small-minded, there won't be much ahead of them. No matter if you don't believe my identity of being non-binary exists, or even if you don't agree with it, I implore that you respect it, just as much as you respect every other student in this building. Create policies that can make your minorities feel safe and comfortable, which is included in your job description. Once we create a safe space where all students can comfortably use the bathroom and put Pennridge back into the state of being legal, we can focus on real issues concerning the bathrooms, like vaping, drug use, physical fights, and the lack of more gender-neutral and single-user bathrooms. Thank you.
Thank you. Magic Carter.
Good evening. I'd like to start by addressing a comment made during the April 8th meeting on language and the words we used. The commenter in particular called for us to use words like male or maybe trans male to describe somebody who is biologically female but thinks they're a male, I guess. I'd like to point out that much of this so-called inclusive language, such as similarities and differences between like gender versus sex, were initially championed by Dr. John Money, noted pedophile and child abuser. I too think language is important. I think it's important to be precise. We need to call a spade, a boy, a girl, and child abuse. Make no mistake, allowing children to believe in dangerous lies is neglectful. Promoting children's abuse in dangerous lies is abusive. So the question is, are these lies dangerous? Well, 80 to 90% of children who have gender dysphoria in their youth grow out of it by the time they become adults. What happens to that 20 to 10% who don't grow out of it? 40% of trans people have attempted suicide. So I would like to promote kids not being in that 40% attempting suicide group, please. And I think it's shameful for any of you to take any steps leading a child down this path, even going so far as promoting, saying, yes, you can pretend to be a boy or pretend to be a girl today if it makes you feel good. These children need help and guidance from adults who love them enough to tell them hard truths and who are not selfish enough to tell them comfortable lies. Then, if you don't so much care about the child who is confused about who they are, maybe try to care about the other children. Because gender identity and sexual identity is a social contagion, and it can affect other kids who might not be affected if they were more protected from it. So, if that doesn't change your mind, which I doubt it did, and you simply must, quote unquote, respect the firmly held belief of a 15-year-old, you should know that I firmly hold the belief that I am right, that words and reality matter, and that desegregating the bathrooms is folly at best. Thank you.
Michael Pietrangelo? Sorry. That's a tough one.
Good evening. I am Sergeant Michael Pietrangelo. Honorably served in the United States Marine Corps for 10 years. I'm also a combat veteran, simplify. I'm here tonight because I was told that in order to get our opinions and voices heard that we needed to speak out if we had something to say about this policy. Well, I'm here to let the parents of our LGBTQIA plus students know that I'm raising a child that stands with yours. to stand against discrimination, to care about the safety and rights of their fellow students who are repeatedly targeted by the ignorant and hateful far-right mob. Ironically, it's their endless crusade of bigotry and created this need for legal protections for allies, for visible supports of minority groups that they complain about. We've heard these folks insist on facts over feelings during discussions about trans youth in K-12 sports, but now they bring up nothing but their families' feelings while demanding a policy that saves no one and hurts others. Let's stop giving these people a pulpit from which to spew their misinformation and their fear-mongering. They are hurting our beloved community. Let's repeal all the policies brought to Pennridge in 2022 by PA Families Institute's Independence Law Center. Look it up. An entire law firm dedicated to writing policy, talking points, and providing legal defense for those who want to discriminate against the LGBTQIA+, claiming it's their religious right to do so. Prior board director Joanne Cullen spoke with the ILC, and then she sat up there and called showing LGBTQ support anti-Christian. Not only is that disgusting, but it's false. It's a public school. If we have to worry about offending zealots over science curriculums, man, they're going to be bared. ILC policies have no place here. Throw them all away and do what the prior board wouldn't do. Work with our educated professionals to create policies or administrative directives that are right for Pennridge community. Laws, policies, consequences addressing the misconduct, harassment, and violence already exist and are handled by the administrators and law enforcement. Anyone willing to break laws isn't deterred by an additional policy admittedly written just to target, ostracize, or out
Sorry, your
innocent
time's up.
trans and non-binary students.
Sorry. I'm sorry.
Of course it is.
We
Thank you for your
don't
time.
mean to cut you off. We have a lot of people. Jane Kramer?
I'll wait till the end.
You wait till the end. You said. Dan Shapiro?
Dan Shapiro, Evanston Township. I'll keep it short because that's most of what I was going to say. But I do want to say a couple things to the board as well. First off, I do want to thank the board for finally taking up the legal services RFP tonight. I know I've asked you guys publicly and privately, and others have as well. I think it's the right thing to do for the district to evaluate our options and see what our legal representation should be. Wish you guys luck. It's a big project. I appreciate you taking it on. I also want to say to Dr. Scheid and Mrs. Draper, I appreciate so much as the parent of a soon-to-be 7th grader that you guys are not making him read Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde next year. That was a little terrifying for me. That book is 100 plus years old. The language is difficult. It's a wonderful book, but it was not appropriate for the curriculum it was being jammed into. So thank you guys for taking care of one more bit of the Vermilion mess there tonight. I appreciate that. I'll keep it short on the bathroom policy because, like I said, that was it right there. But I firmly believe that the best course of action is simply to repeal the old policy. This is an administration issue. I trust Mr. Petty. I trust the teachers in our schools. I think another commenter, Ms. D'Angelo, maybe she mentioned, it would be chaos. You're right. That's why we have administrators. We don't need policies to do this stuff. We have administrators in our schools. They're competent. They know what facilities we have in the school. We understand there's facility issues. There are physical facility issues. They make it hard to do what everyone wants. That's not an easy problem to solve. Let the administration solve it. The policy is going to be a burden, not a help in this case. So I appreciate that, and I love the idea of the survey, but I find it hilarious that the people who were pushing so hard against surveys last year, and literally in the meeting last year, where we had passed the bathroom policy, there was a read about a policy about not doing surveys. And here we are saying, yeah, we all want surveys, great. We wanted them last year. Surveys are great. I love the idea of doing surveys. You guys are doing a great job with the transparency. That's what people said. You're bringing the public in, you're listening. You went first read, pulled it back, more discussion. more feedback, you're listening. It's so different than last year. The implication that you're not being more transparent is amazing. So thank you guys for the work you're doing. Appreciate it. Keep it up.
Shannon Harris, I have you signed up twice, once in the beginning and once at the end, so pick your topic now. You do one, I'll have you again, because you signed up twice.
Yeah, I did.
Okay. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, sure. You don't have to.
Shannon Harris. So I was looking at the contract for Sweet Steve and Katz. I just wanted to ask the question, is this for educational services only? I know that like in Central Bucks, they also are the solicitor is from that law firm too. So I just want to make sure that this is for educational services only. You aren't trying to sneak in the RFP person. You want to choose their law firm later, if that makes any sense. With the ESSER funds, it said that you're basically going to have to move the expenses that were from the ESSER funds into general funds. So I just would like you guys to be transparent if this is going to raise our taxes in 2025. Looks like that's what's going to happen. RFP, I'm glad that you're taking your time with it. Definitely. Sweet Stephen Katz would not recommend. Rudolph Clark, definitely a no. If you even put it on there, you will hear from me. Announced, just one thing about your announcing your executive session. Other places, it's like they usually announce their executive session right in the beginning before public comment, just to make everybody know what went on during that. So I don't know if that's necessarily a Robert's Rule thing or not. Anyway. So policy committee meeting. I was just disappointed and embarrassed. I felt Mrs. Rash wasted our time by the way she ran the meeting. 2 days prior, she put up a new first read, which basically blindsided the entire board because it asked for all bathrooms to be gender neutral. Board members were even quoted in the meeting saying, "This is not what we talked about." Mrs. Rash, you were very vague in your explanation. You didn't even read through the language that you wrote in the policy, which I thought was very strange because that's what a first read is supposed to be. And you riled up the community because that's not what the DEM board ran on. I would just suggest if you want to remain policy chair, to be a leader and not be sneaky and underhanded, especially to your colleagues. Did you do this? More that I think about it, I'm like, did you do this as a tactic to get what you really want, which is some gender neutral bathrooms? And so you just like went for the jugular and said, we just want all of them. And so then maybe the whole board would compromise. Again, that's just a sneaky tactic. I'm just asking the question. Either way, I would just suggest truthfulness and transparency in the future. The Pennridge Community Alliance recently posted about the current bathroom policy. I quote, "The policy is discriminatory and risks financial liability for our district and taxpayers." The statement is completely false. There's no law that requires gender neutral bathrooms. Title IX does not require that. There's no law in the books. Current policy accommodates all students with multiple single-use bathrooms. So every single student, according to your policy, is accommodated by a single-use bathroom. You did it. Awesome. You did it. Great. You're not discriminating against anybody. The Dems brought a complaint, not a lawsuit, which shows that they know that they can't win in court through Title IX, and the guidance is not a law.
Excuse me.
Okay. Yeah.
Thank you.
Nothing is pushing you guys to do any of this.
Ross McLennan.
Ross McLennan from Hilltown. Peter Drucker, the father of business management. Yeah, I know a lot about Peter Drucker, so I thought that was a good quote. Thank you, Ron. Ron, as a business manager, I'm sure you've had many situations with your HR folks and EEO and other issues that can be a little dicey. And I expect you relied on your employees' judgment to handle these. And I'd expect you will trust our hired professionals. I think some of us spoke about that in their roles and give them the support to do their jobs. So I appreciate that and your background. Let me see, a lot has been covered. Here we go again, defending our students and the community from the Pennridge GOP. It's like whack-a-mole. just keeps popping up. Attacking masks, anti-gun legislation. I'm talking about book banning here, you're attacking curriculum, all the policies over the last few years, policies that were intended to represent the majority of students, and now you're attacking bathroom policy. Obviously, it's all political. They really don't care about the students' health and well-being. Did you boo me? Thank you. You and the four, Ron, you and the four new members on this board won this past election. You five represent the community, not Bob, not Jordan or Ricky, and definitely not Kim and the Pennridge GOP. Republicans voted against you, Kim, you lost. The majority spoke loudly against the GOP.
Let's not refer.
I feel like we are back in the 50s
Anyone in the
and
audience?
60s. Yeah.
Are you kidding me? She's attacked me personally in public comment before.
Yeah, but that's okay because that's them attacking you. I feel like we are back in the 50s and 60s. It's like the GOP is co-opting segregation instead of racial segregation. They want to give trans kids their own bathrooms and keep them out of the cisgender-only bathrooms. What's next? Separate water fountains? Well, how far are you going to go with it? Why don't you tell me? You're embarrassing our community. No, we won. We spoke.
Hey, let's keep control of our comments out there. Everyone has their chance to speak.
I'm in support of the policy that Mr. Johnson presented, and I would like to see this voted on tonight. Also, is Ricky Jakin given approval to mislead the public and go on a radio
Ross,
show?
you're at your 3 minutes. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Kim Bedelian. I can keep time. I don't need everybody else doing it.
Good evening, Kim Bedelian, Kirkcaldy Borough. Almost 4 years ago, England's National Health Service appointed pediatrician Dr. Hilary Cass to chair an independent review into its services for children and young people questioning their gender identity. The Cass review was commissioned after a group of clinicians at the Tavistock Gender Identity Clinic complained that children were being referred for transition too quickly. On April 10, 2024, Dr. Hilary Cass released her report, the most thorough consideration yet in the field of gender medicine. What Cass's final document finds largely is an absence. The reality is that we have no good evidence on the long-term outcomes of interventions to manage gender-related distress, Cass writes. We also don't have any strong evidence that social transitioning, such as changing names or pronouns, affects adolescents' mental health outcomes either positively or negatively. We don't have any strong evidence that puberty blockers are merely a pause button, or that their benefits outweigh their downsides, or that they are life-saving care in the sense that they prevent suicide. We don't know why the number of children turned up at gender clinics rose so dramatically during the 2010s, or why the demographics of those children changed from a majority of biological males to a majority of biological females. What she did find was that the cohort of children treated at Tavistock were found to be disproportionately made up of girls, same-sex attracted, on the autism spectrum, and had co-occurring mental health issues and had suffered adverse childhood experiences. Despite these complicated histories, many children were put on irreversible medical pathways with devastating permanent results, including infertility and damaged adult sexual functioning. Of note, healthcare professionals who had concerns about the treatment methods at Tavistock were afraid to discuss their views for fear of being labeled transphobic. They were shamed and silenced while children were being permanently harmed by unproven treatment methods. The Cass report recognized that for many, questioning their gender is not necessarily a sign that they will have a fixed trans identity in adulthood. Instead of helping children understand and process through their underlying mental health and emotional issues, gender medicine has encouraged them to instead believe they were born in the wrong body. England is showing us in real time the devastating consequences of applying a social justice model instead of an evidence-based medical model. We should be doing nothing in school that coerces children to deny biological reality. We should be doing nothing that will provoke gender confusion in the minds of children. Bathroom and locker rooms should be based on objective biology, not radical gender theory, with a reasonable accommodation.
Emily Guy.
Emily Guy of East Rock Hill Township. I request that you remove policy 720 from your policy update plan. You are unable to enforce the policy we have in place right now. You need to stop with the activism and focus on what is actually affecting student safety and how to enforce control. I'm sure you're all aware of the Pennbrook Middle School attack on the 12-year-old girl by a 13-year-old trans girl. Every single news organization that has reported on the story has failed to mention that the attacker was a trans girl, aka biological boy. They only refer to him as a student or as a girl, and we only know that he's a biological boy, identifying as a girl because of local parents and students speaking out, and the brave girl who spoke up at their board meeting, who had asked for help and didn't receive it, who intermittently referred to the attacker as he or she. We can't even have free speech or freedom of the press because everyone is afraid of being called transphobic. That little girl was ignored because the administration at that school was afraid of being called transphobic, so they did not stop a known threatened attack from happening. You keep saying there's no threat to girls with trans girls in their private spaces, but here's proof that we have no idea how many times these incidents have already happened because the media isn't allowed to say the truth about biology. How can we honestly evaluate the safety of any private spaces with mixed sexes? We can't obtain factual data, but we do have anecdotal evidence, and that points to danger for girls. We are sacrificing our free speech and our own children's safety on the altar of political correctness, and it is beyond frightening. I fear for the safety of all our kids because we can't have honest discussions without honest information. Boys and girls are different, physically and biologically. These are facts. I beg you to stop coming after girls' private spaces and focus your efforts instead on improving safety for all students. We already have designated individual user bathrooms for kids not comfortable using the multi-user spaces of their biology. You want to improve those? Great, focus on that. The pressing issues are clearly drugs, vaping, bullying, and violence. We still have locked bathrooms during the day, something that should never be happening. Kids need access to safe and open bathrooms during the entire school day. And Mr. President, you ignore or won't answer direct email questions about this because you call them coordinated emails. So when it's multiple parents who want to protect girls' private spaces and sports, we are coordinated. So I guess we don't count when you don't like what we have to say. Well, you need to start listening to all of us and stand up for what is right.
Come on.
Janelle Martinez.
Janelle Montagne, Hilltown. At the policy meeting, Leah Foster-Ash stated that the problem with doing a survey of parents regarding the bathroom policy is it will align with the majority. In a public school setting, policy should accommodate as many students as possible. While I understand that every student matters, even those that are less than 1% of the population, you cannot make a policy to benefit a handful of students at the detriment of over 2,000 others. This policy will affect every student every day in this district. While I know that you can't get parental input on every decision that the board makes, something this important, you most definitely should. The only reason that you wouldn't is if you know the answer and do not want to listen to the parents. It wouldn't take long to put a simple survey together and email it to every parent this week. To be clear, if you don't, you are telling every mother and father in Pennridge that you don't care about what they think and only your personal and political agendas matter. It sounds like there are currently two options being discussed. The two-option plan proposed and pushed by Leah that will require all multi-user bathrooms to be gender identity and single-user bathrooms for everyone else. It'd be crazy to give all the multi-user bathrooms to maybe a dozen students and have the rest of the student population use the single-user bathrooms. There'll be long lines and kids late to class constantly. The other option thrown out was the 3-option plan with gender identity multi-user bathrooms, biological sex multi-user bathrooms, and single-user bathrooms. The issues with this are, I'll take away multi-user bathrooms from 99% of students for less than 1%, leading to congestion and logistical issues for many more students. It would be confusing, especially to freshmen. It was also stated at the meeting by Ms. Foster-Rash that the administration could not keep track of what students are transgender because that would be outing them. Thus, it would be the honor system. Any boy could enter any girl's bathroom at any time and not be questioned. As the mom's story from last meeting explained, a gender-fluid boy could change his identity back and forth from day to day, and no one could do anything. At the policy meeting, a Pennridge mom who taught in another district explained what happened when they implemented a gender-neutral bathroom policy and all the problems that occurred, including sexual meetups and drug deals in the bathroom that the school could not stop. They eventually had to reverse this policy. If this happens, they're already said that middle school and elementary school bathrooms will be next. Also, by the same logic, locker rooms and sports will be changed as well. There cannot be a 3-option plan for those, so that would mean biological boys being allowed in girls' locker rooms and sports. The only solution I see is keeping the existing policy for all multi-user bathrooms to be biological sex and single-user bathrooms to accommodate anyone not comfortable with that. We should also find a way to gradually add more single-user bathrooms so it's fair and convenient to all students. And to any parent out there that doesn't want gender identity bathrooms, locker rooms, and sports, or the rest of Leah's wish list, join the group I started on Facebook called Parents Supporting Pennridge. It's a great group of parents who want to spread the word of what's happening in the district and help save our district. Thank you.
Darren Watson.
Hi, Darren Loston, Percy Borough. I would just like to take a little time tonight to talk about the BA Family Council. It's a Harrisburg-based right-wing religious lobbying firm, and they've taken public stances against such issues as same-sex marriage, same-sex foster parenting, hate crime laws, the repeal of Don't Ask, Don't Tell, and even gay boys being allowed into the Boy Scouts. The PA Family Council dedicates an entire section of their website to a very specific topic. I kid you not, it's called the Homosexuality Archives, where they riff on the LGBTQ culture war topics of the day. It's not just the T in LGBTQ that they're targeting. It turns out that Jeremy Samick and Randall Wegner, registered lobbyists employed by the PA Family Council, were highly involved in policy creation here in Pennridge School District under the past board. In fact, they had secret meetings that were never announced to the public with a quorum of the school board attendants and the solicitor. I'm going to read an email to you right now from the past school board president. Good evening, Jeremy. We have a meeting scheduled on Monday, July 18th at 6:30 p.m. to discuss a potential policy change. Our solicitor, Mike Miller, has suggested that since this meeting will include the dispensing of legal advice, we should have an executive session. The meeting will be held in the Pennridge District Administration Building Conference Room. The address is 1228 North 5th Street, Percy, PA. I think having you there in person would be the best, but we could conference you in if need be. Please let me know if you'll be able to join us. Here's also a special event that the Pennridge GOP had with, wow, special guest, Randall Wegner and Jeremy Samick, where the topic is hot button school board policies and grassroots school board campaigning. I don't think that these people have any business making policy in public schools. And I don't think that these policies were made in good faith with respect to all children. I think that's obvious.
Yes.
I don't think these policies were created to protect anybody, and it doesn't belong in public schools, and we need to repeal all the ILC policies, period.
Yes.
Laura, more questions? Oh yeah, as a reminder, which is, I forgot this too, please state your name residents. You can start.
Hey, Laura Foster, East Rock Hill. I just want to take a moment and to acknowledge our LGBTQIA plus students. Just know that there's a lot of adults here that absolutely love you and respect you despite the things that you've heard here tonight. I want to talk just a minute about gender dysphoria. So I am a clinician. I have the power to diagnose through DSM. So I am an expert in this field, but I would not come up here and pretend like the head of the GOP that I know how to implement a diagnosis for a class of people. You should talk to your guidance counselors about what gender dysphoria is. What I can say is that it is not a mental health diagnosis that is given to every person that is transgender. In fact, one of the things that I know that happens of why someone is diagnosed with gender dysphoria is because they are not supported by their community. They're not supported by their environments.
We're keeping the clock up here.
So in that case, I encourage you to talk to your guidance counselors about what gender dysphoria is, because all of this rhetoric up here is just a bunch of Google searches. You guys know that I'm a part of Pennridge, right? You know that we're a nonprofit that supports diverse students in our community.
He's keeping the clock up here.
I can't get my time back for them interrupting.
Please.
Can I? Okay. So through Ridge Network, families reach out to us. Very few of our LGBTQ plus kids at Pennridge will openly share their story. Think about this for a minute. If you're a trans kid, would you come up here and tell your story knowing that at least one of the adults up here has repeatedly made social media posts making fun of who you are? These kids just want to be kids. They want autonomy and privacy to be able to use the bathroom that aligns with who they are, no matter where they are. I recently had a parent of a trans kid share with me their experiences and give me permission to share them with you. The parent told me that trans kids, both girls and boys, are scared to use the boys' bathroom for fear of what will happen to them by the boys and by teachers who are relegated to policing their anatomy. They said that their child has to keep their head down and just go into a stall and pee. The parent said that when the child was able to use the bathroom that aligned with their gender, other girls were nice to them and even gave them compliments on their clothing. This is who Pennridge is. We are a community of accepting of people who are different. We are ready for this. Don't give in to the rhetoric of zealots. See past the one-off examples of terrible things that have happened amongst children and look at the actual data on what happens when a trans kid feels included. You know the data. It's in your inbox. Look at why the queer kids in our district don't come out and say all the terrible things that have happened to them. The last time that the LGBTQ plus kids actually tried to talk to administration about being bullied, what happened to them was that Dr. Bolton equated them being gay to a mental health condition. Can I have my time back from the interruptions? No. It is your responsibility to protect these kids.
You had actually more.
Okay, I'm sorry. All right, so please do the right things by your children.
Thank you. Brian McMullen?
Jeff, can you fix the clock?
Brian McMullen? Okay, sorry. I got it down too. Are you keeping it there? You have it there? Okay, so you okay. You're good. Oh, it's working.
There you go.
Brian McMullen, East Rock Hill. I'm going to go off paper a little bit here real quick. I'm a little confused at Mr. Wertz's original comment in his opening statement. We have very low test scores, but then we're one of the best PA. I was a little confused by that. If you could elaborate later, that'd be great. But what I'm really here to comment on is the proposed changes to Policy 720. I'll be brief and to the point. Ms. Rash commented at the Policy Facilities and Finance Committee meeting on April 8th. Voice our opposition to a student survey because, and I quote, "it will of course align with the majority because that's just how numbers work," right? Exactly. That's how numbers work. For you newly elected to the board, you ran on inclusiveness and equality, but it's now apparent that you're willing to make changes to policy at the expense of 98% of the student body. It's not inclusive, nor is it by any stretch what I would consider equal. Now would be a good time to reconsider your election promises and vote accordingly. Imagine how the recent incident at North Penn School District would have ended if the biological boy attacked the girl not in the cafeteria in front of many student and adult bystanders, but in a bathroom where there were fewer or no one to respond to come to her rescue. Mr. Johnson, at the last school board meeting, commented that students no longer use gym lockers to change for PE. I know for a fact that at North Middle School it's mandatory for students to change into short sneakers and a t-shirt with their last name on it. In the high school, at least during my daughter's freshman year, it's also mandatory for students to change into appropriate PE dress. So make no mistake, the gym and sports locker rooms are 100% covered under Policy 720 relating to bathroom access. In closing, we heard from a public commenter at last month's meeting how changing this policy affected Bristol Township School District and how the administration lost control of the schools to drug deals and sexual activity between minors. As a father of two in this school district, I'm putting you all on notice. Your votes will be public knowledge. I will hold the school district and you personally responsible if anything like the North Penn incident happens to either of my children due to changing policy 720 here at Pennridge.
Lady Renee.
Borough. I have just a few quick notes related to the bathroom policy. I think the policy should be revoked and not replaced or rewritten. It was spurred, according to Ms. Jakin, by an incident in another district that has nothing to do with Pennridge. The idea that we need a policy about the private bathroom use of transgender students because one transgender student somewhere in the United States behaved inappropriately is silly. Put the management of bathroom use back in the hands of the administration. Any student abusing bathroom access should be subject to the appropriate discipline. I have two daughters. Their safety in school is something that I think about all the time. One thing I'm not afraid of is the idea that they may share a restroom with a transgender student. Transgender children, transgender people, are not inherently dangerous. Whether we realize or not, we have all been sharing bathrooms with transgender people for all of time. If you proceed with rewriting the policy, please continue to do so in collaboration with school administrators, in public, and with regard to the law. Thank you.
John Aaron Martin.
John Aaron Martin, Sellersville Borough. There was recently an incident in my son's middle school where he was prompted to provide his pronouns in order to receive a bathroom pass. I'm not going to speak much about that because it's already in the process of being handled, and so far I've been impressed with how the principal at South operates. But as a result of what happened there, somebody asked me, with everything going on, how can you keep your son in Pennridge? And my reply to say was that I'm raising him in a world that's full of weak men that don't stand up for what is right, or they do nothing to stop what's wrong. I'm raising him to be a man of strong character, and there's no better place for him to stand out as extraordinary than to be a man with a good heart in a world that's lost its moral compass. My question to you is, do we have any good men or good women on the school board? Is there anyone that has the courage to say, there's nothing wrong with the bathroom policy that we currently have? If it's not broke, don't fix it. Let's get back to academics, because that's your job. I know that the current bathroom policy works because I was able to print out a copy, set it on the principal's desk, and say, I've read this. Because of that, I had remedy for what happened with my son. The current bathroom policy protects my son, it protects their daughters, and it also protects the 1% of our students who feel like they're neither son nor daughter. This new anything goes policy that was introduced by someone who clearly does not have our kids' best interests at heart leaves everyone vulnerable, including the school district. I know if my child was sexually assaulted in a school bathroom due to this policy being implemented, I would immediately file a lawsuit against the school district. I have a feeling that everyone whose parents in here would do the same thing if they were in the same shoes. Yeah. And the comment about it's not being scared of trans kids. Like, I would be, there's some middle school boys that ride bike past my house to get to school that I would feel uncomfortable being in the bathroom with my son sometimes because they look a little rough, you know what I mean? So allowing anybody into any bathroom is the most insane thing I've ever heard. And I agree with whoever said it, that it's likely that they put that forward just so nobody pushes back against more modern options. So I think that's likely. Anyway, thank you.
Ricky, I can't read the writing here.
Oh, Doctor's writing, sorry.
I can't read the last letter.
Hicks.
Hicks, okay. That doesn't look like an S.
Ricky Hicks, Hilltown Township. From 2015 to 2021, my wife and I worked at a Christian faith-based group care facility for children in the foster care system. The first year we did emergency placement. The rest we taught children with no plan for reunification, independent living skills. 4 days on duty, 24 hours a day, 3 days on call. We dedicated our lives to parenting our own children while not just helping these youth become independent men and women, but also helping them to heal from trauma. I am also a multiple-time secondary survivor of physical assault, sexual assault, and suicide. This means that I have been connected to someone that ended their life or someone I had a close connection with confided in me about being physically assaulted or sexually assaulted. No one is more passionate about protecting young people than my wife and I. I personally have heard horrible stories from female friends and youth in my care of their assaults. Not rumors, but direct accounts of the indescribable cruelty that they have experienced. Let me tell you what I've never heard. I've never heard of a transgender woman assaulting a woman. On the contrary, the statistics show that they are 4 times more likely to be victimized than a cisgender individual. The likelihood of a woman being harmed because of one of these individuals using the restroom is not increased. There are no numbers to support this. They are just like us straight cisgender individuals, and that the majority are good people and just want to live their lives. Our current bathroom policy is unnecessary and may even be illegal. It is not a difficult concept. We need to stop misgendering as it contributes to the harm that is being done to these young people. They are not biological males. They are transgender women.
Yes.
They are not the enemy. They are just people. For the sake of this conversation, they are children. How do we continue to enforce this policy? Do you look at what is on the student's birth certificate? What if they were born with ambiguous genitalia? It is possible for someone to be intersex. That said, what if when they hit puberty, they began manifesting physical characteristics of the opposite sex that they did not before? I heard one community member state that the policy should be based on DNA sex, but a person may carry both male and female markers. Are we going to hire someone to run the genetic testing? If we do, what happens if the student carries both or inconclusive markers? What if the student, despite their DNA, has begun producing an overabundance of one hormone over the other? These are all situations that can happen, not opinions, science. We need to shift the conversation to how we can help the bathrooms, keep the bathrooms safe from drugs, smoking, bullying, and violence, not policies that target transgender students. I, as a Christian, support the LGBTQIA+ community. I will happily have a friendly conversation about this, not debate with anyone as to why I do. Thank you.
Maria DeLucas, I'm probably pronouncing that wrong. Maria?
Good evening, Maria DeLucas, Hilltown. I just wanted to give some comments from children. The day after the last board meeting, my daughter was at her dance school, and they were all talking about it, and us mothers were kind of off to the side, not having the conversation with them. but really listening to what they had to say. And they were really upset about it. And these are high school kids, as well as middle school and elementary. And the high school kids and middle school kids were talking about it more. And then later on, my daughter in elementary school said to me, "Mom, am I going to have to go to the bathroom and have to worry about a boy being in there?" And I said, "Well, no, don't worry about that." And then putting her to bed later on, she said it again. And I said, "Well, what are your concerns?" I said, "I really want to hear them." She's a bright kid. She's my only one, so she's around adults a lot. So talking to her is like talking to a little adult. And she said, "I'm strong, but I'm also a girl and I'm delicate. How would I protect myself if a boy was in the bathroom and he was going to hurt me?" And where this stems from is an incident earlier in the year where she was being bullied by a boy who they handled the situation very well. However, it took a very long time for the child to be removed from the school. And the only reason he was removed from the school is because he put a girl in the hospital with a concussion. So you understand that my daughter, who now is being told, I can now share a bathroom with a boy, is going to give her a little bit of anxiety. Other girls that she's friends with that were talking about it were saying the same thing. They're like, "Well, these are girls starting puberty. These are girls changing." And they're like, "Well, why would I want to be in a bathroom with a boy? Why would I want to go into a change for gym and have to worry about somebody looking at me when all I want to do is change?" And they dance, and everybody's in the locker rooms changing, but everybody has their pods. None of them will get changed in front of each other. And these are middle school and elementary school kids. And they all get in their little pods, and they change their costumes, and they come out. They're very protective of their bodies. As a parent, that's what we teach them. And just overhearing these girls talking, I wanted to bring that to your attention, because it's in their minds that they're now going to be sharing.
Sorry, your time.
So, thank you.
Joel Nito? Joel?
Hi, my name is Joel Nieto, Berkesee Borough. My son is a freshman at Pennridge High, and I have a 6-year-old daughter who's currently homeschooled. Speaking today in regard to the proposed bathroom policy, speaking as well from a place of compassion. I can't imagine what it must be like to feel like I was born in the wrong body. It's not clear to me, though, nor do I see that it is the place of our education system to implement policies that affirm dysphoria as a way forward. We hear the term gender-affirming care in today's world. As a college graduate who majored in psychology, was familiar with a lot of literature, it is unclear to me how we ended up here. That is because therapy, or the role of a therapist, has never once been about affirming anything for a patient. We don't tell an anorexic person who feels like they are fat that they should go on diet pills. We don't tell people with schizophrenia that their hallucinations are actually there. We don't tell people having a panic attack who think they are dying that they are indeed dying. Furthermore, in the field of psychology, we don't expect the avoidance of reality to lead to an individual being able to navigate the world properly. Regardless, I implore this school to recalibrate its focus on what it's there to do in the community. A school that is in our community is there to teach, and a school that is in our community to teach can't be good teachers if they're trying to be therapists as well. And pandering to children's beliefs of what they say they are or feel is not a way forward, most assuredly in our education system, unless we are no longer the educators. Changing fundamental definitions and rewriting language in such a top-down way is only creating more confusion and chaos to our children, who are already relying on us to help guide them and equip them to navigate a very big and frightening world. Furthermore, to not identify as an assigned gender is seemingly becoming an attractive an idea to children who aren't necessarily suffering from dysphoria, but who are just uncomfortable in their changing body and identity as they go through puberty and into adulthood. They don't like the attention, or they don't feel attractive. So in the search for their own identity, they don't like categories or needing to conform to gender roles. Every generation has a counterculture, but our youth today appears to glamorize mental illness with a proclivity to creating an identity based on intersectionality. In my time, the way to fight against the norm was a mohawk or piercings. Now we're seeing gender expression as a creative means for our youth expressing themselves, and not only are our children applauded by their peers and community when they denounce their assigned gender, but now today our schools seem to want to pander more and more to reinforcing and reaffirming these ideas through decisions like gender-neutral bathrooms. This feels like a social experiment where all of our children are the subjects. The data isn't out yet on how this truly plays out. So to close, I just want to repeat that schools should set our future generations up for reality. These are our students, they aren't patients.
Denise Walter. Denise Walter. Well, I think I'm reading it right. Hilltown. Not here anymore. Okay, we're moving on. April Fultz.
April Fultz, West Rock Hill Township. Like everyone else, talking about the bathroom policy. Several people have commented that some of our cisgender students are uncomfortable with transgender students in the bathroom. Those comments have become commingled with comments suggesting a risk of physical harm. But the argument that transgender students in the bathrooms present an inherent safety risk is based on flawed assumptions. First, it assumes that transgender students are inherently prone to violence and aggression. There's no evidence to support this. One example of a student with a history of behavioral issues is not evidence of a systemic issue. You wouldn't conclude that one race, religion, or even profession was collectively more prone to violence based on a single event. Second, this argument assumes that biological males, regardless of gender identity, are inherently incapable of controlling their aggression and therefore are a danger to our female students. Maybe we just teach our boys to do better.
Yes.
I've also heard comments about whether it's reasonable to accommodate or pander to our transgender students, given that they represent a small percentage of the population, and allowing students to use the bathroom aligned with gender identity is dismissive of students who are uncomfortable. As noted already, the debate in the 1960s around desegregation of public restrooms based on race is strikingly similar to the debate happening here. And while the concerns of some community and board members here reflect deeply held personal beliefs, consider that it wasn't that long ago that many people deeply believed that Black people created unsanitary conditions in public bathrooms, that allowing Hispanic or Asian people to use public pools contaminated the water for white people. Imagine how that survey would have turned out. Widespread segregation was based on certain people's comfort, but comfort is not the same as safety. Today, it's very unlikely that any of us would refuse to use a bathroom with someone of a different race or ethnicity. But consider that our students' grandparents grew up in a time when that would have been unthinkable. That's because our beliefs are shaped by our experiences. And it's not unexpected that many of us with limited experience with transgender people fear what we don't understand. But history clearly tells us that those feelings of discomfort ultimately fade when our experiences broaden. I understand that differences in race or sexual orientation are not the same as differences in gender identity. However, the board is obligated to make decisions based on data and legal requirements. This is not an easy task. And while the proposal of separate bathrooms based on gender identity versus biological sex is not without merit, Brown v. Board of Education clearly established that separate but equal is inherently unequal. It is not our job as a board or community to make judgments about how students identify, how they dress, whether they should receive gender-affirming care, or debate the merits of therapy. It is your job as a board to listen, separate fact from speculation, and find real ways to make the bathroom safer for all of our students. Thank you.
last is Glenn Henderson, I think. Glenn?
All right, so I usually don't do this kind of thing first time up here. Percy resident, have 2 kids in the school system, and honestly, I think the whole revision is bullcrap. I think that what they originally had was fine. I think what everybody's trying to do right now is you're trying to add more perspective, but perspective on what? The community has already spoke. The community is here and speaking. I mean, how many times you got people to come up here and say, we don't want it, versus the people that do want it? I mean, let's be real. I got a daughter who's going into high school next year, and I got a son who's coming into middle school next year. They should not have to worry about who's going into their damn bathroom. Both my kids today told me they would not like the other sex in their bathroom, and that is 14 and 11. And I did not talk to them before we came here. I just asked them straight up, if a man went into your bathroom, how would you feel? When a woman went into your bathroom, how would you feel? And they both told me they would not like that. And they don't know what's going on. I think that this whole, I got a lot of language I want to say. I think that this whole thing with the bathroom policy should just be crossed out, crumbled up, thrown in the garbage. I think where it should have been was where it is, and leave it there. There's no revisions needed. There is nothing that needs to happen in this community because this community has spoken, and we do not need a revision on this bathroom. Period.
All right, that's the public comment we had. You will speak again after your second comment period. Moving right along to the consent calendar.
Wait, there's somebody else.
Oh, did there someone? Who's on the list?
Tom Person.
Did you sign up? Okay. Go ahead. I don't see it on here. Tom?
There's something out there.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Tom Urso, Percy resident. I've been listening to this go back and forth, and I had a whole diatribe ready to go, but actually I'm just kind of sad. I'm listening. I'm a retired Marine officer. I'm a retired police officer. I've been all over the world because I'm a corporate pilot now. I fly all over the world, and I'm sitting here and I'm thinking to myself, the rest of the world, because I talk to people all over in every other country on this earth, and they're laughing at us. I mean, laughing at us because of this crap. We're talking about bathrooms, and right now the policy is perfect. I mean, they're being facilitated, right? If you're a transgender kid, you have the single-use bathroom, you now are being facilitated, correct? The girl that was just up here with the ponytail talking about comfortability. Okay, well, what about my kids' comfortability? So let's have what we have right now. I just don't understand why we're not back to like talking about educating kids, teaching my kids how to learn, because that's your job, guiding the school and the scholastic guidelines of this neighborhood and this community. If for nothing else, for all the people that are here that have the same view that you better get out and fundamentally get people out voting, because if you do not, they will win. This is what you end up with. That's the bottom line. So, thank you for your time.
All right, moving right along. The consent calendar is up next. I'd like to make a motion to approve items A through I on the consent calendar. Can I get a second?
Second.
Second by Chris. Any questions, comments? Nobody? All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those against? Motion passes. Right. Moving right along to committee reports, Ms. Blomberg, activities.
Okay, we have one thing on the agenda, and I apologize, but Mr. Palmer, I wanted to ask a question before the vote. I'm so sorry. But the huddle, sorry, Mr. Miller, do I need to do the motion first and then discussion after?
Yeah, the discussion on it, sure.
Okay, so we'll just, okay, so we have one thing on for activities. It's a motion to approve contract subscription with Huddle Agile Sports Technologies Incorporated starting August 1st, 2024 through July 31st, 2027.
We got a second?
Second.
You can-
Okay.
You can ask.
So not gonna ask a question. Okay, so my
No,
question-
you would then go, should I say that or did I?
She said second. It's on the table. Take it up, debate.
All right. Okay, so first off, I think Huddle's awesome. I'm super pumped. Now I feel like, a lot of alumni that don't necessarily live around here will be able to view games live from Pennridge, which is awesome. Huddle's a great resource that I know we've used for other things, but there's a lot of great things for our sports teams to be able to have this for this upcoming sports year. My question though is, when Mr. Hagan was presenting Huddle, it was for the package and all the things for like the online. But my question is, there was also a piece for like going for online ticketing. That's not included in this, correct? I just want to just double check that that's not included.
No, Huddle does not have any of the online ticketing.
Okay.
That's a totally separate system.
Okay,
Yep.
perfect. Okay, thanks. Sorry, I think we have to vote on it though, right?
Yeah, I thought you were supposed to do, I was just
She
conferring.
made the motion. Somebody made the second. So the motion's on the floor. There's now debate on that. And then when debate is finished, you can take a vote.
Me,
So you can call the vote.
okay, all right, no more questions. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those against? Motion passes.
Okay, and then the next activities committee meeting will be on Wednesday, May 1st, 2024. Thank you.
Okay, moving on to curriculum. Who's heading this up today?
Mr. Merkel,
Mr. Merkel. Then- Oh, yeah. Are you ready?
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Sorry, Christine, I thought it was your turn. So, last curriculum committee meeting was handled on April 2nd. We have one item up for approval, an approval of curriculum improvement proposal for English language arts.
Second.
Questions or comments?
I did want to just quickly comment. I wanted to just add that I appreciate Mrs. Raber's thoroughness in explaining the AFNF updates and the reasoning behind it, both at the last committee meeting and in email. In addition, I appreciate how Mrs. Raber and her team have continuously been looking at the reading, English, and language arts curriculum to make sure it's both developmentally appropriate and challenging. So I wanted to thank them.
Anyone else?
I just wanted to make a comment. I will not be in support of this, and I just wanted to give a reason as to why. I agree. I think Ms. River did a great job presenting what she was presenting. However, I know there was talk about not having the book, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. However, the replacement of the reading is for a lower reading level. And I am for raising the bar and raising the standard and having students strive for that. Too many times I think over life that we lower the bar, and there's a lot out there on reading and how like read alouds and reading to students that doesn't necessarily need to be taken away. So that is my main reason for not supporting, is for lowering the reading level for the book that was suggested. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those against?
Nay.
Motion passes 8-1.
The next curriculum committee meeting is scheduled for Wednesday, May 1st.
Mr. Cornick?
Thank you, Mr. Wertz. We have a motion on the table to approve.
Mike.
Oh, sorry. We have a motion to approve a resolution to file a Commonwealth Financing Authority Public School Facility Improvement Grant. If you remember from our committee meeting, this is a grant that not to exceed $5 million to put in LED lighting on the inside and outside lights of the school facilities. So I'm looking for the motion.
Motion.
Second.
Any comments or questions? No. All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those against? Motion passes 9-0.
We have a motion to approve obsolete items A through C.
I'll second.
Second. Comments or questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those against? Motion passes 9-0.
The next facility committee meeting is scheduled for Thursday, May 2nd, 2024.
Our last finance meeting was April 8th, moving on to finance. The first section we're on tonight is approval of the Upper Bucks County Technical School budget 2024 to 2025.
Take a motion.
And need a second?
I'll second.
All right. Any comments or questions? All right, I did want to say something. So I have concerns on the budget, and I just want to let them know I won't be voting for it tonight, but my concerns with the tech school budget is it is not a balanced budget. It relies on using fund balance, something like a reserve, to fund these reoccurring costs. That means we have to pay for it again next year and the year after. And that's not a good way to use fund balance, because then you end up using it up. And it's not a good way. You should all balance. We are required to balance our budget, and this one is not. One of the main reasons that the budget is exceeded is that we had 2 new positions that were up for, that they'd like to have added to it, but they were on the budget last year and were not hired. So I never really got an answer as to why they weren't hired last year, which to me is worrisome. Without those 2 positions, we would have a balanced budget, which would not make us pay additional revenue from our budget to support that. So that was just my comment. Any other questions or comments? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those against? Nay. I assume that's 8-1 it passes. All right, moving on. All right, back to that. Next is approval of contracts. That is, I'd like to make a motion to approve A through L, and if there's anyone pull out any of those, let me know. But
Could we pull out J and L?
Sure.
I'm sorry, J and K.
J and K. Okay. So I'm going to make a motion to approve items A through I and L. And a second.
Second.
Second, Mr. Marco Gum. And then questions or comments on those items? No? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those against? Motion passes 9-0. Moving along to number J. Should we do those separately or together? Do you care? Ooh, that was right.
Separately, because I have different questions.
Okay. Make a motion to approve item J, the Sweet Stevens contract. Need a second?
Second.
Second. Questions or comments?
Yeah, so we don't have a contract with Sweet Stevens. What are we exactly voting on? That's what I'm not clear about.
You want to take that?
It's an agreement that Sweet Stevens, who is our law firm with respect to special education matters, it was a notice that their legal fees are increasing effective July 1st, 2024.
You
And is that
personally,
something typically we vote on? Why don't I remember voting on agreements before?
I believe that Sweet Stevens has previously had an agreement with the district. That agreement either expired or has not been renewed. The district has used Sweet Stevens for special ed, I guess as long as I've been here. And I think to the extent that they are increasing their fees, which they are increasing their fees to the district, that the district, if they want to choose to continue to use Sweet Stevens, needs to approve a new agreement. That agreement, if you approve it, like any agreement with any law firm, that law firm serves at the pleasure of the board for as long as the board wishes to have them. So it's done an agreement for a particular term. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, that does. I won't be supporting it for the simple reason I'd like to do an RFP if we're doing RFPs at this point, and maybe enter a contract with maybe them or somebody else.
I would also agree to doing an RFP for this service.
Mr. Wers, I believe the RFP for legal services includes special education, correct?
I don't know.
I don't believe it does.
I don't think it does, but, well, we have the right to do an RFP at any time for anything we would like. So, this is really more just a price increase, so I'm not sure it's the time to, if we want to discuss having an RFP on that particular solicitor, that's fine, but, this is something that I guess we don't approve, then what happens?
What happens? They work at their old rate or they stop working.
Okay. Well, no. So, all right, is there other questions and comments?
Mine's mainly a comment because it's interesting how there's an RFP on tonight and there was a few public comment and community, but nothing for this, and this isn't for an actual increase in their hourly wage. So again, I'm just questioning where's the equal comments for the RFP that's on tonight compared to this agreement.
We discussed doing an RFP for this at the last committee, right? Mm-hmm. It was discussed already.
This is separate from any RFP that would be issued.
So then how did it make it then to here? If we're going to do an RFP for it, it was discussed and there was a consensus. How did it make it to the board?
I don't think there was a consensus on Sweet Stevens or anything at that point, but this came through, I think, the normal channels to Sean, and it's kind of like a bill, and they're asking to increase their prices. It has nothing to do with the quality of their service. So that's a separate
Right, but
discussion.
that was one of the number one things for the RFP tonight. There was even a document that was attached to the board docs for the other RFP that we had one of the highest paying solicitors. And now this is being increased and there's not.
I'm not saying we
much
shouldn't
comment.
do that. It's just not, we can't do that here tonight. We could bring it up.
So then all I'm
in committee.
asking is, Mr. Kaufman just said that he wanted to do an RFP, so then this would be removed? Is this being tabled?
No, it has nothing to do with whether we choose it. They serve at our pleasure, the pleasure of the board.
Right, but if
so
you're,
that
if you're
we
voting
can-
on this, then you're voting on the increasing of the hourly rate.
Yes, that's true. Thank you.
So I would like to make a motion to table it.
Motion is ordered, does not need a second. Okay. There's no discussion. No discussion, so we now vote on whether to table this. Do you want to do a roll call? Yeah, no, sure.
Ms. Patitsky? Ms. Patitsky?
What are we voting on again?
To vote yes is to table, to vote no is to not table, then you would go forward with voting on the Sweet Stevens increase.
I'm sure it's me.
I'm sorry. When there's a motion to table, there's no debate.
No debate.
There's no debate whatsoever. So to clarify what we're voting on, there's been a motion to table. It doesn't require a second. All you do is vote on it, yes or no. To table it means that you would not vote on the Sweet Stevens increase. To vote no on the table would mean you would proceed to a vote on whether or not you would approve the Sweet Stevens increase. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Thank you.
No.
Mrs. Blomgren?
Yes.
Mrs. Jagan?
Yes.
Mr. Cormack?
Yes.
Mr. Kaufman?
No.
Mr. Merkel-Gum?
Yes.
Mrs. Rash?
No.
Ms. Sharino?
Yes.
And Mr. Wurs?
No. 5-4, motion's tabled. Moving on to K. Make a motion to approve item K, Learn Well Educational Service for student identified as 2024-14, $57 per hour, 2023 to 24. I need a second. Someone?
Second.
Second. Who was that? Any questions or comments?
Yeah, I just wanted to get a little more information. This seems familiar, like we've used LearnWell, but could somebody remind me what exactly these services are?
Sure, I'll take that. LearnWell provides educational services to students in medical facilities. LearnWell will provide direct instruction and administrative support based on the student's academic program and/or IEP. Pennridge students who receive services from LearnWell are in partial hospitalization programs within medical facilities. LearnWell actually partners with medical facilities and bills us for the services.
Okay, all right, that's fine then.
Mr. Barrios, is the services academic only?
Mr. Johnson, I'm going to ask you to elaborate, please.
Yes, LearnWell provides academic support for students, but they will, in the event that an IEP asks for counseling services, they will provide that as well. But its primary focus is on academic support and educational services.
Is it like if it covers under the counseling, is it similar to like a Lakeside?
Exactly, similar to a Lakeside where there's in-school counseling, they'll provide that type of support.
Thank you.
Anybody else? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those against? Motion passes 9-0. Next up is approval of PSBA membership renewal. So I'll make a motion to approve the PSBA membership renewal 2024 to 2025.
Motion.
Do I need a second?
Second.
Any questions or comments?
My comment is something I mentioned in past. I know PSBA, our membership, it covers, some of the, suggested verbiage for policies, different things like that. It does like the training for when school board directors are on. My only concern is that, it's $18,000 and PSBA doesn't have any other like competition. So there's no, correct me if I'm wrong, I asked for this before, but I believe they're like the only service that provides the services they do. And when you're taking recommendations from one entity, sometimes I worry that it's not, are some of the suggestions one-sided, is it balanced, how that all shakes out. So that's my only concern, that there's only one place to go to for this and there's not other options to choose from.
Okay, anybody else? All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those against? I guess the motion passes 9-0. Next is up is the approval of postage meter lease. Make a motion to approve Quadient Leasing USA for a postage meter effective June 6, 2024 for 60 months.
Make the motion.
Second?
Second.
Did I get a second? I didn't. Okay. Did I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any questions or comment? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those against? Passes 9-0. Approval of the legal services RFP. I'd like to make a motion to approve the RFP for legal services.
Motion.
Second.
Second. I did make the motion. Questions or comments?
Yeah, go ahead. I just have a comment and a question. I'm not supporting the RFP. I think that it is, well, I don't think that you replace somebody who's doing a good job. I don't think money should be the number one factor in every decision, particularly legal services. Getting a bad lawyer would be a nightmare for this district. I don't know how we're going to weigh out if they're really good or bad until we're using them. And the fact that this was the first thing brought up, one of the very first, if not the first, under the new board with the timing of the lawsuit against the district, I question why this was of urgent nature, so I'm just not in support of it.
Sorry, can we just clarify that the lawsuit against the district is being handled by?
I can clarify the lawsuit against the district. You want to clarify? Sure.
The lawsuit presently against the district, we're referring to the OCR complaint, is currently being handled by insurance counsel, Mr. Joseph Santarone. And I consult with the board on issues regarding that. He is the primary person that is tasked with handling that matter at this time.
Yes, but if a new solicitor would come in and try to encourage some kind of settlement, like that could be a conflict, and that is where also my concern is what is the reasoning behind it, what's the motive behind bringing this up, especially, again, before, I know people are saying tonight they want an RFP, but at the beginning when this RFP was requested, not even knowing that we don't have a contract for our special education services. And that wasn't a concern at all for an RFP or how much we were paying them. That was not even, mentioned, commented on. So again, it's the concern of why this is to the forefront and not equal concern over our special ed attorneys. So I will also not be in support of this. If it's not broke, don't fix it. And very pleased with what we have, even at times, of not, Mr. Miller and myself sometimes disagreeing. So I'll just leave it at that. I'm not in support of it. I'm very pleased with how it's been going.
Anyone else?
Yeah, one other point. When this was addressed earlier and the chart that was attached, it showed hourly wages. Edward Seaman charges us the same whether we're in court or sitting in this room. That wasn't reflected for the other firms that were put up there. They have different hourly rates, so I don't feel like that was an accurate portrayal of all of the fees. I'm sure we'll find out, I guess, during the RFP.
Yes, we will.
I would like to speak for a moment to my support for the RFP. And I brought it up before. I think it's important that as a district we are assessing all of our contracts that we have. Part of that is finding out what the available options are, being able to negotiate with people from a position of strength rather than a position of weakness. I'd like us to make sure that for the people of Pennridge we're getting the best deal on all of these contracts. And to speak to your point about Sweet Stevens, it is a valid one. And I think it has a lot to do with the fact that for all of us, Mr. Miller, we see him every week. We see his law firm on display every week. And it's a learning process for all of us. You'll notice as soon as we came to the discussion of Sweet Stevens increasing their rates and what's going on there, everyone on this stage was in favor of let's make sure that we're getting the taxpayers of Pennridge the best deal. And that's what this is about. Pure and simple, let's make sure that the people of Pennridge are getting the best deal that we can possibly get for them on all of these different options.
It could in turn, though, cost us more money if, to Ricky's point, you get something that's cheaper but the quality is not there, and we won't know until that happens. So I appreciate your comments.
Okay. Is there anyone else?
Mr. Ward,
Okay.
can I just please jump in? I apologize, but I just want to point out section 3.2 RFP document, page 3, says the services that the district may require of a solicitor or other attorney retained by the district may include the following. There's a list of items there, and one of those items does say advise on legal special education matters. So I don't think I believe special education is covered within the RFP.
You don't? Okay, so then, I think it's covered then too for the, okay, we'll have to table that. Anything else? Thanks, Sean. Okay, all those in favor? Or do you want to do a roll? Should we do a roll? Yeah, do a roll. Sorry.
Ms. Patisky?
Yes.
Mrs. Blomgren?
No.
Mrs. Jagan?
No.
Mr. Cormack?
No.
Mr. Kaufman?
Yes.
Mr. Merkel Gum?
Yes.
Mrs. Rash?
Yes.
Mrs. Sharino?
Yes.
And Mr. Word?
Yes. Motion passes 6-3. The next Finance Committee meeting is scheduled for Thursday, May 2nd, 2024. I will now turn it over to Ms. Sharino for personnel.
Thank you, Ron. So for personnel, for approval of contract, motion to approve the contract for Mr. Sean Dahlberg, Chief Operating Officer, effective April 22nd, 2024 through June 30th, 2029.
A second.
All right, any questions or comments?
I do. I'm not going to be voting for this. I just want to explain why. Everybody on the board agreed that we don't want to lose Mr. Dahlberg, and he does a great job. I was in full agreement with that too. I'm concerned about the precedent that we may be setting with the medical, so that's the only reason I won't be in support.
Anybody else?
I did just want to ask.
Yeah, sure.
I want to add that Mr. Dahlberg has been a valuable asset to our district, as I'm sure the community has seen in his reports and in his budget that he's presented. He's made Pennridge his priority, as it's shown in his work, and I acknowledge and appreciate his dedication really to our district. So I thank you, Mr. Dahlberg, and look forward to working with you and keeping Pennridge financially strong and stable.
I just want to comment too, I even said during our meeting, I feel like you're the GOAT, greatest of all time for at least my tenure. I think you do an amazing job. However, with things, where things are going and when budgets get tighter, it's really difficult for me to support the contract, just like it was with the previous contract for Dr. Shides. We always capped raises at 2.5, and now it's being raised to 3.5%. And it's just, I don't think that we offer terrible rates. I also get frustrated just with school districts and in the administration levels, because it continues to like re-average and having to compete for that. And I understand that it's really crucial to have a good people at those levels. But it just seems like a slap in the face sometimes to taxpayers, because it's continuing to increase and it feels like it's at a faster rate with some of those positions. Also, like historically, most surrounding districts, if not all, cabinet and superintendent benefits follow the Act 93. A lot of times in the contract for benefits, it will say to follow the Act 93. And it's unheard of, really, to pay benefits 100%. And when we do our contract renewal with the union, prices increase. So typically every contract negotiation, you're asking them to contribute more to their medical benefits. So it just doesn't seem that it's the right thing to do to offer to be okay with for free benefits. I feel like nobody gets that. So that's why I will not be able to support this.
So I just wanted to comment on Sean. We've worked a lot together over the last few years. I think he's been our financial guru now for 9 years. And I think he's been an amazing addition to Pennridge, and some of the highlights are something that I thought of why he's been so successful and what makes him an excellent CFO. We've not had a tax increase in 7 years, and that's good. That's because we have solid financials, and Sean's been behind that. And we've said this many times before, he reduced our debt significantly. by refinancing at the exact right time, saved us millions of dollars to the district, and that was put together through his work. And I also think he keeps a good eye on the budget, and eliminating waste and looking at everything. And I've worked with a lot of different CFOs over my career, and he's up in the top of all of them, and I trust him, and I believe he will help us get where we need to go in the future. So I'm hopeful we can pass this, and I look forward to working with him in the future. Thank you, Sean.
Ron, I have just a couple comments. I got to say kudos to Mr. Dalbert. I've worked with him with different committees. He's done an excellent job for the school district. He's held his fist down when we looked at certain increases. He's been part of the negotiation committee, looking at the unions and the professional staff. He's worked diligently with that committee to make sure we held down costs. I have no problem with a 3.5% increase. I do have a problem with 100% medical. We look at the business industry. I don't know too many people that have it unless you own the company. And Sean doesn't own this company, he works for us. And we'll vote no because of the medical issue. Thank you.
I'd like to comment in support of Mr. Daubert. We are here to educate our children, but once you become a member of the board and you get insight into all that it takes to keep a district like this running, and Mr. Daubert does that, he does it excellently. And the fact that he has kept our taxes down, has reduced the debt, that is also an attractive feature to people moving into the district, to keep our taxes at a reasonable level. So I support Mr. Daubert being with us. Thank you.
I would also like to thank Sean for all his hard work. Just the body of work really speaks for why this is needed. It's a big task to have to run a district financially, and again, looking at your body of work, it shows that your understanding of the taxpayer, your understanding of what's needed from the district. So I thank you and commend you for all your hard work.
All right.
I just lastly like to add that I also support this contract. I feel like the precedent that's being set is being set by Mr. Daubert with the excellent work he does, and that would be the bar we would expect people to meet if they're asking for the same sort of things. Thank you.
Okay, if there's no more, we'll take a vote. Could we do a roll call on this, please? I would like to add that Sean also doesn't just do finance. He does, let me get it, see if I get this right, technology, facilities, and transportation. So he's kind of a jack of all trades. So one of the things that's on this vote is also promoting him to the title of Chief Operating Officer, because he oversees so much more than just finance.
Ms. Patitsky?
Yes.
Mrs. Blomgren?
No.
Mrs. Jagan?
No.
Mr. Cormack?
No.
Mr. Kaufman?
Yes.
Mr. Merkel-Gump?
Yes.
Mrs. Rash?
Yes.
Ms. Sharino?
Yes.
And Mr. Wurs?
Yes. Motion passes 6-3. Congratulations. We look forward to spending at least 5 more years here, and we love that you're part of the team. So
Thank you very much. I appreciate the board, appreciate your support, I appreciate everyone's opinion, and I do appreciate the opportunity to be able to spend the rest of my career in Pennridge and retire here. 2 of my 3 children have went through Pennridge, and I call this home. So thank you.
Okay. I believe that is it for.
Yeah, the next personnel committee meeting is scheduled for Thursday, May 2nd.
All right, moving on. Policy, Mr. Rash.
All right, so policy committee met on April 8th, and many of you were here. Before we go through the approval of the 2 policies that are listed, I just want to make a brief statement around policy committee moving forward. So the policy chair works with board leadership and administration to prioritize what policies should be up for review, and also the dissemination of information around that to board members, etc. I know in the past, policies have been pushed through quickly, but we're making a decided effort to walk the community through a lot of these policies, especially when we get to the more controversial ones like bathrooms, where there is a lot of information to share. I've encouraged all board members to share with the rest of the board any information they have. But recognize that moving forward, bathrooms is the first one we're hitting, but it probably won't be the last one. And so in order to ensure the community that there is not bias being done on how policies are selected and what's moving forward, Christine Matiki and I will be co-chairing policy moving forward and working together to get the information out to the board members, collect the appropriate information to make decisions, work with administration and leadership to craft first reads and get them out to the board. So, Christine, I'll look forward to working with you. So that being said, the only agenda item are the approval for the two policies, enrollment of students and transportation.
Motion.
Second.
Second. Questions or comments? Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those against? Motion passes 9-0.
Thank you. So the next policy committee meeting will be Wednesday, May 1st.
Mr. President, I just wanted to address something that I've seen that I think it's important to address. The OCR complaint or the OCR filing was mentioned earlier, and I mentioned that Mr. Santarone and not myself is primarily handling that matter. I do want to say publicly that to clear up any misapprehension, Mrs. Rash has recused herself from any involvement with the discussion of the OCR complaint, with any discussion regarding its defense, any meetings, any votes, or anything like that. I've also heard the comment that Mrs. Rash has a conflict of interest. That's a term of art under the law. Under the law, under the Pennsylvania Ethics Act, conflict of interest is a very specific legal term. I will say I've discussed this with Mrs. Rash, and as far as I can tell, based on the information she's provided, she does not have a conflict of interest by acting as one member of the board and as policy chair. Now, people have the right to view her position as being conflicted from their own personal view, or believe that perhaps that she has a view or an agenda or whatever, but she does not have a conflict of interest as that issue is defined in the law, and I think it's worthy of mention so that we can put that aside. I think debate over the policies, where they come from, what they're influenced by, whether they're right or wrong, whether they're legal or not, is entirely appropriate. But I just wanted to make that statement on the record. Thank you.
Thank you. Did you say the next policy? No, so we're moving on to the IU. So I just wanted to let everyone know that there's a lot of great things happening at IU. I stopped by last Friday. They had the IU prom, and it was about 70 IU students and about 90 different volunteers. They set up the theme of the prom was Paris, and we could all get there without jet lag, which was nice. But it was open to junior and high school students and for kids with multiple disabilities, autistic support, emotional support. A whole host of other kids were there, and they were having the time of their life. So it was really uplifting to be there and see all those people helping the kids. So they do a lot of special things at the IU. As part of the report, I'm going to be attaching some of the publications that the IU puts out. It just shows all the good things they're doing for our community and for our kids. And it's a great organization, and you'll see more, and you can look on board docs and see the different announcements that they made. So that's it for the IU at this point. Next IU meeting scheduled for Monday, May 22nd. I'll turn it over to Mr. Kaufman for Bucks County Tech School. Chris?
So the meeting was on April 18th. Just some notable items. To date, co-op students have earned $803,000 this year. We announced the Skills USA State Medal winners. Jack Funder from Advanced Manufacturing spoke for the need to bring the younger generation into the trade. There's a video competition called What's So Cool About Manufacturing, which is meant to excite students to explore cool manufacturing careers and produce profiles of companies in their communities. The website is www.whatsocool.org, so I encourage some of our students to check that out. There was a Kubota partnership announced, which Upper Bucks is now the 4th approved high school program to receive this partnership. There's going to be a special Zoom meeting for April 23rd. Revised policy 708, 710, 715, and then 717 was deleted and replaced with 701.1. There's a contract with Temporary Assistance for Needy Families in Bucks County on behalf of Workforce and Economic Development to run a summer camp from June 17th through June 20th, which will be on the Upper Bucks website. And there was a motion made and passed to amend the motion from March 21st in regards to the roof replacement project, the financing of that. The next meeting is scheduled for Thursday, May 16th.
Thank you, Chris. Next up is the PACC, Ms. Sharina.
Thank you. The Pennridge Area Coordinating Committee met on March 28th, and at the Municipal Roundtable, Bedminster Township stated that they're purchasing a new boom road mower. They've approved authorizing application for a grant from the Pennsylvania Commission on Crime and Delinquency to extend their victim advocate program. Dublin Borough, they're developing their energy efficiency plan that includes switching their streetlights to LED, which will lower their bills by 50%. The no box ordinance, which is every business would have a box with a key in it, which helps firefighters for every business in the borough. That's what they're looking at. East Rock Hill Township, zoning ordinance was recently adopted. A potential increase to the fire tax millage rate would be part of their 2025 budget. Silverdale Borough, their community day is Saturday, September 21st, with the rain date of Saturday, September 28th. They're currently working on a sidewalk improvement with PennDOT, and they're thinking of putting a new park in Silverdale. They're also looking at an ambulance service in the borough. Percy Borough, they just signed a new police contract agreement between Sellersville and Percy, and ballfield poles and light replacement is in progress. Sellersville Borough, different activities throughout the year. They're celebrating their 150 years. They're also working with West Rock Hill on Holiday House Pool Agreement for operations and costs. Proposed new 60 townhouse development on Hughes Street and a 40-home development on Diamond Street. The next meeting will be held on April 25th at 7 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you. We now move to old business. Is there any old business?
I did want to take a moment to thank Dr. Scheid and our fabulous supervisors of curriculum for in our short time out here, really helping us to put focus back on education and curriculum in the district. As well for Ms. Baticki for helping me with this as my co-chair on the curriculum committee. But in the short time that we've been here so far, we've managed to restore an emphasis in 9th grade on U.S. history, emphasize teacher and community-driven resource selections, restored our teachers and administration to creating student-driven curriculum writing and review processes. We've managed to create new AP courses, continued growth of our district's Career Pathways program, which was started under former leadership, and I thank them for that. And we've started in a phased restoration of 4 social studies credits that'll renew emphasis on civic education to help all students gain skills and do what everyone in this room is here doing tonight, to act as informed citizens participating in this great American Republic. So I did want to take a moment and thank you.
Well, thank you. It's been a pleasure working with all of you, and we're very excited about everything that you just mentioned and more to come. Thanks.
Thank you. Any other old business? Any new business? We have a few people who signed up twice for public comment, so let me get through the list here. Actually, Jane Kramer's up first.
Jane Kramer, Sellersville. Lots been said tonight, so just had a few thoughts I wanted to share before we wrap it up. One, just really grateful and happy to see the rest of the Vermillion curriculum taken out, and that seems like we're done. Would you say? So that's good. That's a real positive, and just very happy to see the policy committee working on the policies that were brought to Pennridge by the Independence Law Center. Very grateful to see those policies being worked on, and hopefully, again, just like we took everything out of our curriculum from Vermillion, I hope we take everything out of our policies that came from the Independence Law Center. I guess just another thought in terms of the bathroom policy and kind of the culture war debates that it spawned. It would be great to see some kind of community education around transgendered people. I can't imagine what it was like for the student that came up and spoke to go back and sit in the audience and to listen to some of the, everyone has their opinion, but you can express it in a way that's respectful, and some of that was a little disrespectful. Especially, I think, moving forward, if we could really be mindful of the language that we're using when we're talking about transgender people. That would be really helpful. So I think if the administration can provide some education to the board. I know on, what was it, March 25th, the Pennsylvania Secretary of Education had sent out a memo talking about some of the legal challenges and OCR complaints and issues of discrimination across the state, giving school boards some guidance. So I would love to see this school board take advantage of the training that he offered in his memo. So, but good progress, thank you for that, and we'll keep coming out.
Thank you. Shannon Harris, are you still here? Yep. Name and...
Yeah, sure. Sorry, I forgot my name. Shannon Harris, Hilltown Township. Basically, what I would like, so just some of the reasons not to change the policy. I think the administration already has a lot to deal with. I'm hearing a lot from the community about excessive drug use and other behavior that's going on. So I just really think that we should focus on that first, get that nailed down. Then if you want to move on to something else, like, and changing the bathroom policy, but you haven't really proven that that you can handle something different. I also don't think it's very fair to the administration to give them something like this, which could increase chaos and other issues, in that they might have to monitor every single bathroom. That's not fair to them. That's not what they're hired to do. We do need more single-use bathrooms. I just wanted to say that I think we should be dealing with the mental health issues of these children instead of affirming it. Your district is part of the problem where these children seek attention and are coping with other issues such as depressions, but their needs are not being met. I just want to give some other statistics and things I want to bring up to show that there is another side. There was a UK study which followed, and it was done over 10 years. 15,000 trans people going through transitioning. They only found, and not saying that no life loss is horrible, but it's 0.02% committed suicide through the transitioning process. So, a lot of times they say, oh, we don't want to, we want to do this so we don't hurt trans people. We don't want them to commit suicide. Well, that's completely false. Nobody's committing suicide based on policies and things like that. The statistic is false. It's 0.02%. You're basically saying that everybody's committing suicide, and if we don't do it, then they're going to commit suicide. That's not true. I'll just end with this New York Post article. It was entitled "Drag Queens chanting, "We're here, we're queer, we're coming for your children," hurts gay rights. It was written by a gay man. It's shocking. Basically, I'm just literally reading from what he wrote in the article. It's shocking but not blunt, outrageous rhetoric coming from the gay left has become pretty familiar. San Francisco Gay Men's Choir, they once played a great role in the gay rights. Now saying, we'll convert your children, happens bit by bit, quickly and subtly, you'll barely notice. He indicates that he just wants a place at the table, but ideologues don't care and they hijack the gay agenda. That small, sad segment of the gay population who determined to be clowns, to make mischief, to get easy thrills by terrifying nice people, they're out there, now giving their ugly name to the overwhelming majority of decent gay Americans. It's disgusting. If anybody is upset more than the sideshow that straight parents, it's gay people who feel that their honorable movement for equal rights has been shanghaied.
Thank you. Kimber Dealing.
Medillion, Percy Borough. This bears repeating. 10 days after the school board election, a civil rights complaint was filed against Pennridge, which seeks to have federal agencies force Pennridge to do the following, and I'm taking this directly from the complaint. Remove policies that require counselors and teachers to out students to their parents and peers. Are you up here telling me that you want to keep secrets from parents? You want teachers and counselors to keep secrets from parents? Remove policies requiring teachers to dead name students or use incorrect pronouns. Are you telling me that you want teachers to not use the birth name and the gender that the parents have approved, that you want to keep that secret? Remove policies that enforce a gender binary and prevent students from exploring their gender and sexual identity. I remind you that this is at school. Require PSD to rescind policy 720, that's the current sex-based backroom and locker room policy. And I quote, in addition to allowing students and staff to use the bathroom that corresponds to their gender, not sex, what they think they are, their gender, the school must make multi-use gender-neutral bathrooms available in each building, and that, I remind you, would include elementary school. So you're going to have gender-neutral, multi-use bathrooms. Are you saying you're for that?
Yes.
Require PSD to make available LGBTQ plus resources, including books discussing gender and sexuality. And I remind you again, this is a school. One of the complainants who filed the complaint is the Pair Up Society, the director of whom is Adrian King, the treasurer is Stephen Rash. Adrian King donated to the campaign of school board director Leah Foster Rash. Stephen Rash.
Excuse me, we're not addressing people in the audience.
I'm not addressing.
Yes, you are.
I'm addressing from the complaint. Stephen Rash is Leah Foster's husband. Leah Foster Rash was appointed chair of the policy committee, in which capacity she is spearheading the removal of sex-based bathrooms. Given her lack of transparency,
Please stop addressing people.
I ask that she be removed as chair and not have any input on any policy mentioned in the complaint. Thank you.
Thank you. Emily Guy.
I just wanted to follow up to Ron's comment about the importance of using metrics. I wanted him to please share with the public what metrics you're going to use to modify policy 720. You mentioned chatter on social media about the bathroom policy and assured everybody nothing has changed. Well, I guess you're getting a glimpse of what will be said when you do change it. We deserve to have input on any policy you're creating before you put it forward for voting. You're anxious to change the current policy, which already allows accommodations for all students, because you want to avoid a lawsuit, so you say. I wonder if the reason you want to avoid that lawsuit is the real issue. You don't care about wasting our money. Your policy chair's husband's organization has already filed a lawsuit against the district, which will cost us plenty in legal fees. I'm wondering if the real reason you need to change the current policy is because you know that the current case law could potentially be overturned if any suit was filed against the current policy was ruled in favor of our district. Is this why you newly elected board members refused to answer questions about this topic during the election? And for the enlightenment of the crowd, the policy wasn't created last year because of something that happened in another district. We had issues in Pennridge that made it a necessity. Boys who identified as boys were going into girls' bathrooms in our high school, and there were rumors that adult visitors to the building could use whatever bathroom they chose. It was open season starting fall 2022 and getting out of control, so the board stepped up and did the right thing by creating a needed policy. 5 European countries have recently restricted hormone treatments for adolescents with gender distress. The lack of available medical and scientific evidence to support the efficacy and safety of such treatments being the major reasons. Even scientists can't report accurate research data if it's not affirming without fear of attack. How can we protect children, including trans children, if we don't allow facts to be presented and discussed without fear of attack? I honestly have fear standing up here and saying these words because there's people in this crowd that could come after me, my job, or my family just for me speaking the truth. It has happened to others in our community. And there are tons of parents out there who won't come and speak on this topic for that exact reason. So please take the emails you receive from the community seriously. Thank you.
Janelle Montague.
Janelle Montigny, Hilltown. I know litigation is going to be an excuse for some board members to try to push one of the gender identity bathroom policies into our district. As a taxpayer, I would roll the dice on a lawsuit over someone's feelings versus a lawsuit over a girl getting physically harmed any day. Most people have heard what happened in Loudoun County, Virginia, when a girl was raped in the bathroom by a biological boy. Closer to home, though, just last Wednesday, a biological boy who identifies as a girl severely beat a 14-year-old girl in the cafeteria and put her in the hospital. What if that took place in a bathroom, and it took longer for someone to get to her? There was also a bullying incident of my friend's daughter in Pennridge that I shared a few months ago, where a biological boy confronted her in the bathroom. Facts matter. Boys are bigger and stronger. Mixing biological sexes in closed spaces with no supervision is not safe. Do you want incidents like this that I mentioned on your conscience? If you pass a gender identity policy and something does happen, it will absolutely be the fault of everyone that voted for it. Leah Foster-Ash is corrupt. Her conflicts of interest are numerous. Only 10 days after getting into office, the Pair Up Society, which her husband is the treasurer of, filed a civil rights complaint against our district, asking for many far-left policies, including the gender identity bathrooms, locker rooms, and sports. The founder of this same group gave only one individual campaign donation during the campaign, or the election, and it was to her as well. Also, her sister, the same campaign donor, started a group called the Ridge Network and used that to pressure the board for these same policies.
Right.
She knew about the complaint during the election, but hid it from the voters until after the election.
Come on.
The same people using legal costs as an excuse for gender identity bathrooms, as well as looking for a new solicitor, leave out the fact that Leah Foster-Ash's husband's discrimination complaint is currently costing our district money to pay a special lawyer to handle. So legal bills don't matter if they're a means of pushing a leftist agenda. In fact, Leah was rewarded for her husband's group causing our district financial burden by getting the policy chair position. The other 4 members of the Democrat majority ran on being moderate, ran on being nonpartisan, and listening to the community. Yet countless parents have spoken out about this via email and at meetings, and they're dismissed. The facts speak for themselves. Leah makes all of you look bad. It's time for those who aren't in on her very obvious scheme to stand up and call it out. Leah should not be involved in discussions or votes pertaining to policies in her husband's complaint, as well as those involving our legal representation that can affect those policies. She definitely should not be the policy chair deciding which and how policies should be addressed. Frankly, she should step down from the board if the majority cares at all about trust and buy-in from the community. Mr. Burrs told me and others that legally he's been told that Leah doesn't have to do these things. Just because something isn't illegal doesn't mean it's not ethical, unethical, and wrong. I've talked to many parents in the district that are highly considering pulling their children and doing cyber charter school because of what is going on with this board. Do what you want, but an aspect of students and decreased funding for our schools will be on
Thank you. I think that was the last. Oh, sorry, yes, I'm sorry. Laura, you're up.
Should I yell when you talk? Go for it. So maybe you can explain why some things are enforced in public comment and others aren't. Because that's, you know, if you're going to say.
No,
it's a-
you're allowed to, look, over the last few years, people have been addressing individual board members.
Yeah.
We need to change that. We're going
Okay.
to change it in the policy.
No, I understand that, but at the beginning of the meeting,
What's
you
that?
stopped a person making public comment about someone in the community, and then when there was other people that had said something in opposition, you didn't stop them. So what are you doing with this? Is it,
We'll
are you
work it out
stopping
that
this or
way.
not?
You're,
Okay.
start your time.
Well, I want to take this time. I hate that I have to spend my time trying to represent and speak towards the needs of the GSA kids. Everyone up here can have the opportunity to talk to the GSA kids and ask them what it is like for them at this school. Everyone here can do that. I would encourage Ricky not to, because we know that she has openly made some transphobic comments and posts on social media, so I don't want her around the GSA kids, but the rest of you, maybe not the rest of you, the rest of you can. This is what this policy is targeted at. And to the GSA kids, like, I want to apologize for all the adults up here who spit vitriol towards you. I'm sorry that your lives have been weaponized by those who can't find love in their hearts to see you for who you are. Please know that all you need to be is you. Please know that there is a world out there bigger than Pennridge that will treat you with dignity and love and respect that you deserve. My heart breaks for you, knowing that your school experiences is marred by open discrimination. I know that your experience here will stay with you. The trauma of being discriminated against doesn't stop when the discrimination stops. It can echo throughout your life. When those waves hit you, know that I care about you, and know that there are responsible adults here that love you. Thank you.
I think that wraps up public comment. I just want to add one more thing that I've heard a lot of comments tonight. I want to be known that I completely support Leah in her role as a policy chair. I think she can do a good job at it. I support her. I think what we did was make it look, put a balance in. I think that's great. But a lot of nasty things, but I tell you, I have complete faith in her. And she wants to do what's right for all of our students. And that's all I want to say on that one.
I also want to echo this. I felt the same thing. We do appreciate everything Leah brings to the table. I mean, she's extremely intelligent, has approached everything with grace, especially considering the amount of vitriol that's been thrown her way. So I thank her, and just for all the GSA kids, I would like to meet with them. You're heard. So.
All right, just one announcement. This is longer than usual. An executive session was held on April 2nd, 2024 to discuss personnel matters. Monday, April the 8th, 2024 to discuss a personnel matter under Section 708A1 regarding district employees' terms and conditions of employment. Prior to tonight's meeting, to discuss matters related to litigation under Section 708A1, personnel issues, Section 708A4, OOR appeal, and Section 708A5, review of an agency business involving privileged attorney-client communications. The next school board meeting is scheduled for Monday, May 13th, 2024. Make a motion to